Now, let the world around you soften. There is no need to be anywhere else, no need to solve any more problems, and no need to hold on to the weight of the day. Allow your eyelids to become heavy, feeling the gentle, comforting pull of gravity that anchors you safely to this moment. Imagine that the room you are in is slowly fading, the walls dissolving into a soft, velvety mist, and the ceiling opening up to reveal the infinite, welcoming embrace of the night sky. It is not a dark or frightening emptiness, but a deep, protective indigo ocean, scattered with the diamond dust of 1 billion silent sentinels. Take a deep breath in, drawing in the cool, crisp air of the cosmos, and as you exhale, imagine you are releasing every knot of tension in your shoulders, your back, and your mind. You are weightless now, untethered from the earth, free to float upward into the quiet serenity of space. Here, the silence is profound and ancient, a soothing balm that quiets the noise of modern life. You are a traveller in the stars, a consciousness drifting through the grandest story ever told, a story written in light and gravity. As we begin this journey, remember that you are made of the same materials as the stars you're about to visit. You are returning to a vast cosmic home that has known you since the beginning of time. Let your breathing slow down to the rhythm of the universe itself, slow, deep, and eternal. As you float in this weightless expanse, cast your gaze outward to the very edge of what can be seen. Imagine a vast, shimmering sphere surrounding you, a horizon not of land and sea, but of time and light. This is the observable universe, a bubble of reality defined by the speed of light itself. Visualize light as a weary but determined traveller, journeying across the void for billions of years just to reach your eyes. Because light takes time to travel, when you look out into the deep black, you are literally looking back into the past. The farther you look, the older the image. Picture yourself hovering in the centre of this sphere, realising that the light from the most distant galaxies left its source before the Earth was even born, before the sun ignited, before the solar system was anything more than a cloud of scattered dust. You're suspended in a time machine, witnessing the ghosts of ancient stars that may have burned out eons ago, yet their brilliance still travels to you, a persistent message across the dark. This sphere is vast beyond comprehension, stretching out in every direction for billions of light years, yet you are the centre of your own observation, the witness to this grand unfolding history. Feel the comfort in that scale. In the face of such vastness, your worries become microscopic, dissolving into the majestic silence of the deep past. Drifting beyond the farthest individual stars, your mind's eye begins to perceive a faint, omnipresent glow that permeates the darkness. It is not the bright point of a star, but a soft, uniform hum of microwave radiation, a relic from the very dawn of time. Imagine this as the cooling embers of the Big Bang, a cosmic afterglow that bathes the entire universe in a bath of low-level energy. If you could see with microwave eyes, the entire sky would not be dark, but bright with this ancient light. It is the oldest light in existence, a snapshot of the universe when it was a mere infant, just a few 100,000 years old. Visualize this glow as a thick, luminous fog that has thinned and cooled over billions of years, stretching and shifting until it became invisible to the naked eye, leaving behind only a whisper of heat. It surrounds you now, a blanket of cosmic history, sitting at a temperature just a few degrees above absolute zero. It is a reminder that the universe was once hot and dense, a singular connection that binds every point in space to a shared origin. Let this ancient warmth wrap around you like a heavy quilt, grounding you in the knowledge that everything, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, shares this common fiery heritage, now cooled to a peaceful, silent slumber. As your vision adjusts to the architecture of the cosmos, you begin to sense that the visible stars and swirling galaxies are merely gems resting on a vast invisible scaffolding. This is the domain of dark matter, the ghostly substance that makes up the skeleton of the universe. Picture a colossal three-dimensional web stretching across the infinite void, its strands woven from a material that neither emits nor reflects light. You cannot see it directly, but you can feel its presence, a gentle gravitational hand that cradles the galaxies, keeping them from flying apart. Imagine this invisible web as the structure of a great cosmic sponge, where the galaxies are merely the bioluminescent plankton caught in its threads. Without this silent guardian, the beautiful spirals and clusters of stars would scatter into the darkness, lost to the void. It is a comforting thought that the majority of the universe is held together by something unseen, a hidden strength that requires no recognition. Visualize yourself tracing the lines of this dark web, sliding along the invisible filaments that connect clusters of galaxies millions of light years apart. It is a network of gravity, a silent glue that grants structure to the chaos, proving that even in the deepest blackness there is order, there is connection, and there is a holding force that keeps the universe intact. From this stable scaffolding, you sense a different force, one that is not holding things together, but gently, relentlessly pushing them apart. This is the mystery of dark energy, the breath of the cosmos. Imagine the empty space between the galaxies not as a true void, but as a dynamic, living fabric that is stretching and expanding. Visualize the universe as a great dark balloon that is slowly being inflated by an unseen lung. The galaxies are not moving away from each other through space. Rather, the space between them is being created moment by moment, stretching the distance like taffy. Feel this expansion as a slow, rhythmic exhalation, a sigh that never ends. It is a lonely but peaceful force, driving the universe toward a future of solitude and silence. As you float, you can feel this gentle current carrying you, a river of space that flows outward in all directions. It suggests that the universe is not static or stagnant, but growing, evolving, and reaching out into the nothingness. This expansion is accelerating, a silent accelerator pedal pressed by the hand of dark energy, ensuring that the cosmos never stops becoming larger, grander, and more open. Let yourself drift on this expanding tide, surrendering to the flow of space-time itself as it carries you toward the edges of infinity. Floating along this expanding river, you drift toward a magnificent, glowing cloud suspended in the velvet night. This is a stellar nursery, a nebula of gas and dust where stars are born. Picture a landscape of towering pillars of gas, light years high, sculpted by the radiation of nearby giants into fantastical shapes that resemble mountains, spires, and castles. These clouds are painted in hues of deep crimson, vibrant violet, and soft pink, illuminated from within by the awakening hearts of new suns. Imagine yourself drifting through these misty canyons, feeling the thin, cold dust brushing against your skin. Deep within these dark knots of gas, gravity is patiently pulling atoms together, compressing them tighter and tighter until the pressure becomes unbearable. In the cool dark of the nebula, a spark ignites. Visualize the moment a protostar turns on, a sudden warm gold light piercing the gloom, pushing back the shadows and carving out a cavity in the cloud. It is a process of immense patience, taking millions of years to craft a single star. Here, in this cosmic womb, there is no rush. There is only the slow, deliberate gathering of material, the silent work of gravity, and the eventual beautiful blossoming of light. It is a place of potential and beginning, where the dust of the universe transforms into the furnaces that will one day warm new worlds. As we leave the nursery, we follow the life of one of these stars as it ages and transforms. Visualize a star much like our own sun, burning steadily for billions of years, a faithful lighthouse in the dark. But as it exhausts its fuel, it does not simply fade, it transforms into a red giant. Picture the star taking a deep final breath, its outer layers swelling and expanding outward, swallowing the space around it. the fierce yellow-white heat cools to a warm, glowing orange-red, turning the star into a massive fiery ember suspended in the void. It becomes a sphere of immense proportions, so large that it would engulf the inner planets of its system. Imagine floating near this gentle giant, feeling the soft, radiant heat washing over you. The light is no longer harsh or blinding, but a soothing sunset hue that fills your vision. This is the autumn of a star's life, a time of change and release. The star is shedding its outer layers, gently puffing them out into the universe like smoke rings from a pipe. It is a peaceful transition, a surrender of mass and energy back to the cosmos. Watch as the red giant pulses slowly, like a beating heart, preparing to gift its substance to the void, creating the seeds for future generations of stars in a cycle that has no end. From the gentle expansion of the giant, we drift to the remnants of those that ended in a more spectacular fashion. Consider the stardust that now floats around you, tiny glistening particles of carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron. These elements were not created in the beginning of time. They were forged in the crushing hearts of massive stars and released in the brilliant blossom of a supernova. Visualize a massive star collapsing in a fraction of a second, then rebounding in a flash of light so bright it outshines an entire galaxy. In that moment of intense heat and pressure, the gold in your jewelry, the iron in your blood, and the calcium in your bones were created. You're drifting through a cloud of potential life, a glittering mist of heavy elements. Realize that you are intimately connected to these ancient explosions. Every atom in your body was once inside a star that died to give you life. Feel the profound connection to the cosmos, knowing that you are not just in the universe, but you are the universe, briefly conscious of itself. Picture these glittering specks of dust swirling together, waiting to be caught by gravity to form new planets, new oceans, and perhaps new eyes to look up at the sky. It is a legacy of recycling on a galactic scale, a beautiful alchemy that turns destruction into creation. Moving through the shimmering dust, you approach a region of space where the light seems to bend and warp, circling a central point of absolute darkness. You have found a black hole, the universe's most enigmatic object. Do not feel fear, for you are safe, merely an observer of this majestic gravity. Picture a perfect sphere of blackness, an event horizon where the pull is so strong that not even light can escape. It sits like a hole in the fabric of reality, a silent drain in the cosmic ocean. Around it, a disk of glowing gas spins, painting a ring of fire that highlights the shadow in the center. As you look closer at the darkness, imagine the concept of time itself beginning to slow down. The closer you get to that horizon, the slower the clock ticks, stretching a single second into an eternity. It is a place of ultimate stillness, where the frantic pace of the universe grinds to a halt. Visualize the light from background stars smearing into circular arcs around the black sphere, a phenomenon called gravitational lensing, creating a halo of warped reality. It is the ultimate quiet room, a place where information is locked away forever, guarding the deepest secrets of physics in a vault of shadow. From the silence of the black hole, we shift our senses to feel the very texture of space-time rippling. These are gravitational waves, the invisible echoes of cosmic giants dancing. Imagine two massive black holes, spiraling inward toward each other in a distant corner of the universe. As they circle faster and faster, they drag the fabric of space with them, sending out ripples like stones thrown into a pond. These waves travel at the speed of light, passing through stars, planets, and even you, squeezing and stretching space by a fraction smaller than an atom. You cannot see them, but imagine feeling a rhythmic hum in the very air around you, a vibration of the universe itself. It is the music of gravity, a symphony played on the instrument of space-time. These waves carry the story of violent mergers across billions of years, arriving as faint whispers that gently distort the shape of reality. Visualize these ripples passing through the Earth, a silent testament to the dynamic, shifting nature of the cosmos. It implies that space is not a rigid stage, but a flexible, moving ocean that reacts to the movements of the matter within it. Let this rhythm lull you, a gentle rocking motion generated by the dance of the most powerful objects in existence. Finally, pull your perspective back, soaring upward and away until the individual stars blend together into a magnificent swirling structure. You're looking at the Milky Way, your galactic home. Picture a vast, flat disk of light, shaped like a pinwheel, spiraling slowly in the dark. It is composed of hundreds of billions of stars, glowing dust and dark clouds, all rotating around a bright, mysterious center. Visualize the spiral arms, glowing blue with the heat of young stars, wrapping protectively around the older golden core. You can see the dark lanes of dust that trace the shape of the arms, the rivers of material waiting to become future suns. Locate our own sun, a tiny, unassuming speck of yellow light located in a quiet suburb of the galaxy, the Orion Arm. It takes our sun over 200 million years to complete just one orbit around this galactic center. Think of the patience of that journey. The last time the Earth was in this position in the galaxy, dinosaurs were just beginning to walk the land. The galaxy is a city of stars, a grand ecosystem of light and gravity that moves with a slow, majestic grace. Feel the comfort of belonging to this massive island in the universe, a beautiful, swirling home that carries us safely through the intergalactic void, rotating with a dignity and poise that has lasted for eons. As we drift inward from the spiraling arms of our galactic home, moving past the billions of ordinary stars that light the way, we come upon a remnant of a star that refused to fade quietly into the night. This is a neutron star, the dense, spinning heart of a collapsed giant. Visualize a sphere no larger than a city, a tiny spinning marble in the vastness of space, yet holding within it the mass of 1,000,000 Earths. It is a place where matter is packed so tightly that a single teaspoon would weigh as much as a mountain. Imagine floating safely at a distance, watching this dense jewel spin with incredible speed. From its magnetic poles, beams of intense radiation sweep across the cosmos like the light of a celestial lighthouse. Every time the beam passes by, it pulses tick, tick, tick with a rhythm more precise than any atomic clock on Earth. These are the metronomes of the galaxy, keeping time in the darkness. Close your eyes and imagine that rhythmic pulse as a soothing beat, a cosmic lullaby that has been playing for millions of years. The gravity here is intense, bending the light around the star so that you can see more than half of its surface at once, a warping of geometry that defies earthly logic. Despite its violent origins, there is a profound steadiness here, a reliability in the rotation that speaks to the order underlying the universe. It is a dense, quiet anchor in the fabric of space, spinning on and on, unbothered by the chaos of the void, a testament to endurance and the incredible power of nature compressed into the smallest of spaces. Leaving the intense gravity of the neutron star, we let the currents of space carry us toward a gentler, warmer region, a sanctuary known as the Goldilocks zone. This is the habitable zone around a star, the narrow ribbon of space where conditions are neither too hot nor too cold, but just right for liquid water to exist. Visualize yourself floating in this temperate band, basking in the perfect balance of thermal energy. Closer to the star, water would boil away into steam. Further out, it would freeze into rock-hard ice. But here, in this delicate embrace, water flows freely, the elixir of life. Imagine this zone not as a line on a map, but as a three-dimensional haven, a lush oasis in the cosmic desert. It represents the potential for life, the promise that the universe is not entirely hostile. Feel the warmth of the nearby star on your skin, a gentle, nurturing heat that encourages growth and complexity. It is a rare and precious real estate, a reminder of how fortunate our own Earth is to orbit within this perfect, life-giving cradle. Contemplate the fragility of this balance, how a slight shift in orbit could change a paradise into a wasteland. It makes the existence of oceans, rain, and soft clouds feel like a miracle of geometry, a stroke of cosmic luck that allows consciousness to flourish in a universe of extremes. Rest in this zone of comfort, feeling the safety of being exactly where you're meant to be. Within this zone of comfort, our gaze settles on a familiar companion, a silver orb that has watched over the Earth for eons, the Moon. But let us drift back in time to witness its dramatic birth. Visualize a younger, molten Earth, alone in the dark, until a planet-sized traveller named Thea crosses its path. Imagine the slow-motion collision, not as a moment of destruction, but of creation. A spray of molten rock and dust is cast out into the blackness, forming a ring of fire around our world. Watch as gravity, the patient sculptor, slowly gathers this debris, pulling dust mote to dust mote, rock to rock, coalescing over millions of years into the glowing sphere we know today. The violence of the impact has long since settled into the peace of the night sky. The Moon now stands as a stabilizer, its gravity reaching out to steady the Earth's wobble, gifting us with predictable seasons and a rhythmic climate. Think of the tides rising and falling in the oceans below, a direct connection between the water on Earth and the stone in the sky. It is a celestial dance of partnership, a breathing rhythm that the planet follows. The Moon is a silent guardian, its cratered face bearing the scars of billions of years of asteroid impacts that might otherwise have struck us. It is a beautiful silver shield, reflecting the sun's light to pierce our darkness, a constant reminder that even from chaos, beauty and order can emerge. Travelling outward from the inner sanctuary past the rocky worlds, we approach the grand architect of the solar system, the gas giant Jupiter. Visualize a planet so immense that it could hold over 1,000 Earths inside it. A swirling tapestry of storms and clouds painted in bands of cream, rust and ochre. These stripes are actually fierce winds, moving in opposite directions, wrapping the planet in a perpetual fluid motion. Dominating this landscape is the Great Red Spot, a storm that has been raging for centuries, a hurricane larger than our entire world. Yet, from your high vantage point, there is no sound, only the majestic, silent turning of the clouds. Jupiter is more than just a planet. It is the solar system's vacuum cleaner. Imagine its immense gravity acting as a shield, pulling in stray comets and asteroids that venture too close to the sun, swallowing them whole or flinging them out of the system entirely. It protects the inner worlds, standing as a massive gaseous sentinel. Feel the weight of its presence, a benevolent giant that keeps the neighbourhood safe. Around it dances a miniature solar system of dozens of moons, each a world of its own, caught in the giant's embrace. There is a sense of royalty here, a planetary king holding court, its gravity commanding the space around it with absolute unwavering authority. Drifting further into the twilight, we encounter the jewel of the solar system, Saturn, and its breathtaking rings. Visualize these rings not as a solid disk, but as billions of individual pieces of ice and rock, ranging from grains of sand to the size of houses. They are floating in perfect unison, a river of ice flowing around the planet in absolute silence. The sunlight strikes the ice crystals, fracturing into rainbows and glittering like a field of diamonds scattered across a velvet cloth. Imagine floating just above the rings, watching the play of light and shadow as the ripples and waves move through them, sculpted by the gravity of tiny shepherd moons that weave in and out of the debris. The planet itself is a pale gold, calm and serene, casting a long, dark shadow across the rings. It is a scene of impossible elegance, a structure that looks artificial in its perfection, but is entirely natural. There is a profound stillness here, a sense of suspended animation. The rings are fleeting in cosmic time, a temporary adornment that makes Saturn unique among its siblings. To witness them is to witness a fleeting masterpiece of gravity and light. Let the beauty of this icy halo wash over you. cooling your mind, the intricate patterns of the rings guiding your thoughts into orderly, peaceful loops, circling a center of calm. Beyond the realm of the giants, the temperature plummets as we enter the deep freeze of the Kuiper Belt and the Oort cloud. This is the attic of the solar system, a vast spherical shell of icy debris that surrounds us like a frozen cocoon. Visualize a region of profound darkness, where the sun is nothing more than a particularly bright star in the distance. Here, billions of icy objects drift in the slow, silent dark, preserved perfectly since the birth of the planets. These are the leftovers of creation, the building blocks that never found a home. Imagine giant chunks of dirty ice, frozen ammonia, and methane sleeping in the cold, moving at a glacial pace across the sky. It is a place of waiting. These objects are the reservoirs of ancient history, holding the chemical secrets of the early solar system deep within their frozen hearts. There is a deep, abiding peace here, far removed from the heat and activity of the inner system. It is the frontier, the boundary between our home and the rest of the galaxy. Imagine drifting among these silent sentinels, feeling the absolute stillness of a place that has barely changed in 4 billion years. It is a protective shell, a vast distance that insulates our warm, busy center from the emptiness of interstellar space. Occasionally, one of these frozen sleepers is nudged by gravity and begins a long, solitary pilgrimage toward the sun. This is the journey of a comet. Visualize a jagged mountain of ice and rock tumbling slowly through the dark, waking up as it approaches the warmth it hasn't felt in eons. As it draws closer to the sun, the heat begins to vaporize the ice, creating a glowing atmosphere around the nucleus, a halo of gas and dust known as a coma. Then, the solar wind strikes it, pushing this gas outward to form a magnificent tail that stretches for millions of miles behind it. Imagine riding alongside this celestial traveller, watching the tail stream out like hair blowing in a cosmic wind. It is a transformation from a dark, inert rock into a brilliant object of light. The tail always points away from the sun, acting as a windsock for the solar breeze. The comet leaves a trail of dust in its wake, a breadcrumb path that, if the Earth passes through it, will result in a shower of shooting stars. This journey is a fleeting visit. After rounding the sun, the comet will retreat back into the cold darkness, its glory fading, returning to its slumber. It is a reminder of the cycles of rest and activity, of long periods of silence punctuated by moments of brilliant expression. We follow the comet's path inward, tracing the source of the heat that awakened it, until we reach the very heart of our existence, the core of the sun. We must use our imagination to withstand the conditions here, for it is a place of unimaginable intensity. Visualize a crushing pressure, billions of times greater than the atmosphere of Earth, squeezing hydrogen atoms together until they merge. This is nuclear fusion, the alchemy that turns matter into pure energy. In this dense, fiery heart, a photon, a particle of light, is born, but it cannot simply fly away. The core is so crowded with particles that the photon bounces around wildly, colliding again and again like a ball in a pinball machine. Imagine the struggle of this tiny spark of light trying to find its way out. It can take 100,000 years for a single photon to navigate from the core to the surface. It is a journey of immense perseverance. The light you see on your face today began its voyage before human civilization existed, wandering through the labyrinth of the sun's interior. Feel the vibration of this constant energy production, a deep, resonant hum that powers the entire solar system. It is the heartbeat of our local universe, a steady burning rhythm that defeats the cold of space and makes life possible. That energy, once it escapes the surface, travels outward not just as light, but as a stream of charged particles known as the solar wind. This wind rushes past the Earth, washing over our planet's protective magnetic field. Imagine the Earth surrounded by a giant invisible bubble, a magnetic shield generated by its spinning iron core. When the solar wind strikes this shield, it is deflected, flowing around the planet like water around a stone in a stream. But near the poles, some of these particles are funneled down into the atmosphere. Visualize the sky above the Arctic regions igniting with colour as these particles collide with the air. Great curtains of neon green, violet and crimson ripple across the night sky, dancing and twisting in silent majesty. This is the aurora, the visible manifestation of the connection between the sun and the earth. It is a celestial ballet, a painting made of light and magnetism. Imagine lying in the snow watching these ribbons of light fold and unfurl directly above you, a silent fireworks display that breathes and moves. It is a reminder that our planet is protected, that there are invisible forces constantly at work to shield us from the harshness of the cosmos, turning potential danger into a display of breathtaking beauty. Finally, let us turn our attention away from the stars, the planets and the lights, to focus on the space between them. This is the vacuum, the great quietude. In the atmosphere of Earth, sound travels by vibrating air molecules, carrying noise from one place to another. But in the deep void of space, there are no molecules to carry these vibrations. It is a realm of absolute, perfect silence. Imagine a peace so profound that it has no earthly equivalent. No wind howling, no engines humming, no voices speaking, only the pure, unadulterated sensation of existence. If a star were to explode nearby, you would see the blinding flash, but you would hear nothing. The violence of the universe is silent. Visualize yourself floating in this soundless expanse, where the noise of your own thoughts can finally settle. It is a sensory deprivation tank on a galactic scale, a place where the mind can expand to fill the silence. This emptiness is not a lack of something, it is a presence of its own, a clean slate, a canvas of quiet. Let the silence wrap around you like a cool, soft blanket, muting the chaos of the world you left behind. In this vacuum, there is no friction, no resistance, only the effortless drift through the eternal quiet night. In this profound silence, where sound cannot travel, something else moves with absolute unwavering purpose. It is the messenger of reality itself, light. Visualize a beam of light not as a mere flash, but as a cosmic traveller obeying the strictest speed limit in existence. In the time it takes for a heartbeat to pulse in your chest, light could circle the Earth 7 times. Yet, in the vastness of the cosmos, even this incredible speed feels leisurely. Imagine yourself riding a photon, a particle of pure luminescence streaking across the void. To you, the journey is instantaneous, a moment of birth in a star and an immediate arrival at your destination. But to the outside universe, your journey takes eons. This speed limit means that the sky is a gallery of ghosts. You're never seeing the universe as it is now, but as it was. The stars you admire are echoes of the past, their light arriving like a delayed letter across a boundless ocean. There is a strange comfort in this delay, a buffer between cause and effect that softens the edges of reality. It teaches us patience on a grand scale. As you glide along this beam, you realize that light is the tether that binds the galaxy together, the golden thread that stitches the past to the present, allowing us to witness the history of creation simply by opening our eyes to the dark. As we move at these immense speeds, the rigid ticking of the clock begins to dissolve, melting into the fluid mystery of time dilation. In our daily lives, we perceive time as a constant, a steady river flowing at the same pace for everyone. But here, amidst the stars, time is elastic. It stretches and compresses like a rubber band. Imagine 2 twins. One stays on Earth, rooted in the gravity of home, while the other boards a ship travelling near the speed of light. For the traveller, time slows down. The moments stretch out, languid and slow, while back on Earth, the years race by like turning pages in a book. If you were to travel out to the edge of the galaxy and return, you might have aged only a few years, while civilizations on Earth rose and fell in your absence. Picture time not as a straight line, but as a landscape that curves around speed and gravity. Feel the sensation of your own personal time slowing, the frantic pace of the world detaching from you. In this state there is no rush, for you have stepped outside the normal flow. You are suspended in a bubble of relativity, where a lifetime can pass in a heartbeat, and a heartbeat can last an age. It is the ultimate freedom from the tyranny of the clock, a reminder that time is not a master, but a dimension to be traversed. Drifting away from the warping of time, we observe how light itself changes as it travels across the expanding universe, a phenomenon known as redshift. Visualize the light waves emitted by a distant galaxy as coils of a spring. As the galaxy moves away from us, carried by the expansion of space, that spring is stretched out. The tight, energetic blue waves lengthen into relaxed, lazy red waves. This is the colour of recession, the visual signature of the universe breathing outward. Imagine the cosmos as a sea of shifting colours, where the objects moving away blush a deep crimson, fading into the infrared. It is as if the universe is dimming the lights as objects retreat, softening their glare into a warm sunset glow. This stretching of light is a message, telling us that everything is drifting apart, that the universe is growing lonelier and colder. But there is beauty in this fading. Visualize the distant universe not as a harsh black and white, but as a spectrum of deepening reds, a twilight that never ends. It is a gentle reminder of the scale of things, that even light, the fastest thing there is, eventually grows tired and stretches out to rest as it crosses the unimaginable distances of the void. Far across this shifting sea of red, we spot points of brilliance that outshine entire galaxies. These are quasars, the ancient lighthouses of the early universe. Imagine a supermassive black hole in the centre of a young galaxy, feeding ravenously on gas and dust. As the material swirls into the drain, it heats up to temperatures of trillions of degrees, blasting out a beam of energy so bright it can be seen from the other side of the cosmos. Visualize this not as a destructive force, but as a beacon, a spotlight cutting through the foggy dark ages of the young universe. These are the most luminous objects in existence, burning with the power of 1 trillion suns. Yet, because they are so far away, they appear to us as mere dots, silent and still. Think of them as the roaring bonfires of the deep past, illuminating the shadows of creation. Floating near one, safely shielded, you would see a blinding, swirling disk of matter, a kaleidoscope of violent energy channeled into a perfect narrow jet. It is a display of raw, unbridled power, a testament to the chaotic, energetic youth of the universe, standing in stark contrast to the quiet, settled maturity of the galaxies we see nearby today. Leaving the ancient fires of the quasars, we drift closer to home, into the realm of the impossible worlds, the exoplanets. For centuries we thought our solar system was the only blueprint, but the galaxy is teeming with variety beyond our wildest dreams. Visualize a planet made entirely of diamond, formed from carbon crushed under immense pressure, glittering in the dark. Picture a world where it rains molten glass, the droplets slashing sideways in supersonic winds. Imagine a water world, a planet with no land, covered entirely by an ocean hundreds of miles deep, concealing secrets in its crushing depths. There are hot Jupiters, gas giants that orbit so close to their stars that their atmospheres boil away, trailing behind them like comet tails. Each point of light in the sky is not just a star, but a potential host to these strange, diverse children. As you float through this gallery of worlds, realize that nature is infinitely creative. There are skies of violet, double sunsets, and plants that might be black to absorb the weak light of a red sun. It opens the mind to the possibility that the normal we know is just one tiny variation in a vast library of existence. Feel the excitement of the unknown, The knowledge that around every star there could be a landscape waiting to be dreamed of, a horizon that no eye has yet seen. Among these worlds, there are some that wander alone, untethered to any sun. These are the rogue planets. Visualize a world that was kicked out of its solar system billions of years ago, cast adrift into the eternal night. It travels in perpetual darkness, with no sunrise to mark the passing of days. It might seem lonely, a tragic figure in the dark, but there is a serene beauty to its solitude. Imagine the surface of such a world, frozen and still, preserving the geological history of its birth like a museum piece. Yet, deep beneath the ice, the core might still be warm, powered by the decay of radioactive elements. There, in the crushing dark of a subsurface ocean, life could still cling to thermal vents, completely unaware of the universe of stars above. These wanderers are the silent ghosts of the galaxy, moving unseen through the void. They are free from the gravity of a master, charting their own course through the interstellar deep. Float alongside one of these dark travellers, feeling the profound quiet of a world without a year, without a summer, simply existing in the peace of the shadows, a hidden gem drifting through the velvet expanse. Sometimes, the line between a planet and a star blurs, creating an object known as a brown dwarf. These are the failed stars, objects too massive to be planets, but not quite heavy enough to ignite the nuclear fusion that powers a true sun. Visualize a sphere of swirling gas, glowing not with the fierce yellow of the sun, but with a deep, moody magenta or a dim, rusty red. They are warm to the touch of the mind, radiating a gentle heat left over from their formation. Imagine a sky where clouds of molten iron rain down into a chaotic, turbulent atmosphere. These objects sit in the twilight between categories, bridging the gap between the giants like Jupiter and the dwarfs like Proxima Centauri. Because they are so dim, they are hard to find, lurking in the darkness like warm embers in a cooling fire. They represent the middle path, a state of being that is neither fully blazing nor fully cold. Drifting near a brown dwarf, you would see a world of intense weather, of bands and storms, illuminated only by its own internal glow. It is a reminder that the universe does not deal in perfect categories, but in spectrums, filling every niche of size and temperature with something unique and wonderful. While some stars fail to ignite, others find partners, locked in an eternal celestial waltz. These are binary star systems. Visualize two suns, one perhaps a brilliant blue giant, the other a smaller golden companion, circling a common centre of gravity. They dance around each other, drawing closer and then pulling apart in a rhythmic cycle that has lasted for epochs. Imagine standing on a planet orbiting such a pair. You would cast two shadows. You would watch a sunrise where a blue star lifts above the horizon, followed by a yellow one, blending their light into a surreal alien green. When one sets, the other might remain, creating a world of perpetual twilight where true night never falls. This gravitational dance transfers material between them. Sometimes the larger star donates gas to the smaller one, a stream of glowing matter connecting them like an umbilical cord. It is a relationship written in light and gravity, a partnership that dictates the fate of both stars. Feel the balance of this system, the push and pull that keeps them from colliding or drifting apart. It is a cosmic romance, a display of dynamic equilibrium that proves that even in the void, nothing truly has to be alone. Beyond the individual couples, we find the ancient, bustling metropolises of the galaxy, the globular clusters. Visualize a tight ball of 1,000,000 stars, packed into a region so small that the night sky on a planet inside would be blazing with light. These are the seniors of the universe, composed of the oldest stars in the galaxy, formed when the Milky Way was just an infant. Imagine the sky here is never dark. It is a tapestry of thousands of diamonds, so bright you could read a book by starlight alone. The stars here are so close that they sometimes brush against each other, trading planets, or merging in flashes of light. It is a crowded, chaotic, yet stable community that has held together for 10 billion years. Think of these clusters as the time capsules of the cosmos, preserving the chemical memory of the early universe. Drifting through the core of a globular cluster is like moving through a storm of light, a dazzling, overwhelming brilliance that surrounds you on all sides. It represents endurance, the ability of gravity to hold a family of stars together against the tearing forces of the galaxy, a shimmering island of unity in the vast emptiness. Finally, we feel a pull that affects not just stars or clusters, but entire galaxies. We're all flowing like leaves on a river toward a mysterious region known as the Great Attractor. Visualize the Milky Way, along with our neighbour Andromeda and thousands of other galaxies, being drawn across the universe at incredible speeds. We're not drifting aimlessly. We're on a course, pulled by an immense concentration of mass hidden behind the dust of our own galaxy. Imagine a gravitational valley, a depression in the fabric of space-time so deep that it swallows the flow of superclusters. We cannot see it clearly, but we can feel its influence, a giant unseen hand guiding the traffic of the cosmos. This flow is the Laniakea supercluster, our home watershed in the universe. Laniakea means immeasurable heaven, and it is fitting. Picture the galaxies as droplets of water, flowing along invisible filaments, converging toward this great mysterious basin. It gives a sense of direction to the infinite, a destination that we will never reach, but will always strive toward. Surrender to this flow, feeling the comfort of being part of a collective journey, a grand migration of light and matter, moving together through the dark, guided by the silent, heavy heart of the local universe. As we drift along these invisible currents of gravity, carried toward the Great Attractor, we begin to perceive a subtle symmetry in the fabric of existence, a concept known as antimatter. Visualize looking into a cosmic mirror where every particle of matter you know, every electron, every proton has a perfect ghostly twin. In the fiery dawn of the universe, these twins were created in equal measure, a grand balancing act of nature. Imagine an anti-electron or positron dancing through the void, identical to its partner but carrying an opposite charge. It is a relationship of intense passion and danger. Should matter and antimatter ever meet, they would instantly embrace and vanish, transforming their entire mass into a flash of pure, radiant energy. There is a mystery here, a silent riddle, for the universe we see is made almost entirely of matter. The antimatter has largely disappeared, leaving us in a world of substance, yet trace amounts of it are still created in the hearts of storms and the collisions of stars. Picture these rare, fleeting particles as the lost siblings of reality, appearing for a microsecond before returning to the energy from which they came. It suggests a universe built on a delicate preference, a slight tipping of the scales that allowed the stars, the planets, and you to exist at all. Rest in the knowledge that you are the result of this cosmic victory, the survivor of a great ancient annihilation that cleared the stage for life to begin. Through this remnant universe, a ceaseless invisible rain falls, penetrating the silence of the void. These are cosmic rays, the high-energy travelers of the galaxy. Visualize them not as rain of water, but as subatomic particles moving at nearly the speed of light, launched by the most violent explosions in history, supernovae, black holes and colliding galaxies. They have travelled for millions of years, crossing the vast emptiness to reach this very moment. Even now, as you lie in safety, these tiny messengers are passing harmlessly through the room, through the walls, and even through you. Imagine them as microscopic sparks of history, connecting your body to the death of a star in a distant spiral arm. They are the universe touching itself, a constant reminder that nothing is truly isolated. The atmosphere of Earth catches most of them, transforming them into a shower of secondary particles that flourish and fade in a fraction of a second. Visualize this invisible shower as a tingling energy, a connection to the wild, untamed forces of the deep cosmos. It is a silent, ceaseless drumming on the roof of the world, a rhythm that has played since the atmosphere first formed, whispering stories of distant cataclysms that are now just ghostly vibrations in the dark. Expanding our mind beyond the particles and the rays, we dare to imagine that our entire universe, this vast sphere of stars and galaxies, might be just one bubble floating in an infinite ocean of foam. This is the vision of the multiverse. Picture a boundless, higher dimensional space where universes drift like soap bubbles, shimmering with their own unique laws of physics. In one bubble, gravity might be stronger. In another, light might travel slowly. In yet another, the stars might be made of cool crystal rather than burning plasma. Visualize these bubbles gently bumping against one another, perhaps sparking new big bangs in the process. It is a thought that removes all boundaries, suggesting that reality is not a single story, but an infinite library of stories. Imagine yourself floating in the space between these universes, a place of ultimate neutrality, watching the majestic, slow-motion drift of realities. It implies that everything that can happen has happened or will happen. Somewhere, in another bubble, there is a version of you who made a different choice, walked a different path. It is a comforting abundance, a promise that existence is limitless and that the cosmos is far grander and more prolific than we could ever measure with our telescopes. Drifting back into our own quiet bubble, we turn our ears to the sky and listen. This is the concept of the Great Silence, often called the Fermi Paradox. We know the ingredients for life are everywhere: water, carbon, energy. Yet when we point our radio telescopes at the stars, we hear only the static hiss of natural background radiation. Visualize the galaxy as a dark forest at night. You know it is full of life, yet it is profoundly quiet. Instead of feeling lonely, let this silence wrap around you like a protective cloak. It means that we are rare. It means that the consciousness you possess, the ability to dream and wonder, is a precious jewel in a vast mine of stone. Imagine that the universe is not empty, but simply sleeping, or perhaps listening just as we are. There is a peace in this solitude, a lack of noise and conflict from above. We are the custodians of awareness in our corner of the galaxy. Visualize humanity as a solitary lighthouse keeper on a remote rock, tending the flame of intelligence, keeping the light burning while the ocean of stars rolls by in silence. It makes your own thoughts, your own dreams, the most interesting things for light years around. Perhaps we are not as isolated as we think. Perhaps life is a traveller, riding the currents of space. This is the theory of panspermia, the idea that the seeds of life are scattered throughout the cosmos. Visualize a comet, a dirty snowball tumbling through the void. Deep inside its icy crust, shielded from the radiation and the cold, sleep microscopic spores, the hardiest bacteria in a state of suspended animation. They are cosmic hitchhikers, waiting for a destination. Imagine this comet crashing into a barren young planet, shattering and melting, releasing its sleeping cargo into a warm, primordial ocean. The sleeper wakes, and the long process of evolution begins. It connects us to the stars in the most intimate way. It suggests that the life flowing through your veins may have started on a world that no longer exists, carried here by a rock that crossed the interstellar dark. Visualize the universe as a garden, where comets are the bees, cross-pollinating the planets with the potential for breath and growth. It transforms the cold void into a network of potential, a web of life stretching across the distances, waiting for the right conditions to bloom. In this garden of stars, there are strange and powerful magnets spinning in the dark. These are magnetars, a rare breed of neutron star with magnetic fields 1 trillion times stronger than the Earth's. Visualize a star that is not defined by heat or light, but by the invisible, gripping force of magnetism. If you were to float near it, even from thousands of miles away, the magnetic field would gently align the atoms in your body like iron filings on a sheet of paper. These stars are the temperamental artists of the galaxy. Occasionally, their crust cracks under the intense magnetic strain, releasing a starquake, a blast of soft gamma rays that ripples across the galaxy. Imagine this magnetic field as a thick, viscous fluid surrounding the star, humming with tension. Despite their power, there is a stillness to them, a locked-in quality where the forces are so tight that nothing moves without immense effort. Visualize the lines of magnetic force arcing out from the star, glowing with trapped plasma, creating loops and twists that look like neon sculptures in the blackness. It is a display of the universe's hidden strength, the power of fields that we cannot see but which hold the capacity to shape reality itself. Leaving the intense grip of the magnetar, we drift into a region where there is nothing. We've entered the Bhutas void, often called the Great Nothing. Imagine leaving the busy city of stars and driving out into the deepest, darkest countryside you can conceive. This is a sphere of space nearly 330 million light-years across, and yet it contains almost no galaxies. It is a desert in the cosmos. Visualize yourself floating in the absolute center of this void. If the Milky Way were here, we would not have known other galaxies existed until the invention of the strongest telescopes, for the sky would be completely black. It is the quietest place in the universe, a sanctuary of pure emptiness. But do not fear the dark. Embrace it as a canvas of infinite potential. Here, the gravity is weak, the light is dim, and the peace is absolute. It is a pause in the sentence of the universe, a breath taken between the clusters of galaxies. Let your mind expand into this space, feeling no resistance, no clutter, only the smooth, velvety touch of the deep vacuum. It is a reminder that the universe breathes, that it has thick knots of matter and vast, open lungs of emptiness, and both are necessary for the whole. As we emerge from the void and approach the end of a star's life, we witness not a violent explosion, but a gentle, colourful exhalation known as a planetary nebula. Visualize a star like our Sun, having reached the end of its time, slowly shedding its outer layers. It does not rage, it simply lets go. These layers of gas drift outward, glowing in fluorescent hues of emerald green, electric blue, and ruby red, illuminated by the dying core remains in the centre. Picture the shapes they form: rings, hourglasses, butterfly wings, delicate structures spanning light years. It is the art of dying, a final masterpiece painted on the canvas of space. Imagine floating through these glowing veils of gas, which are thin and ethereal, like cosmic smoke. This gas is rich with carbon and oxygen, the very breath of future life. The star in the centre is slowly cooling, fading into a white dwarf, a diamond in the heart of a lotus flower. It is a scene of tranquil beauty, a silent, slow-motion blossom that takes tens of thousands of years to unfold. It teaches us that the end of something can be as beautiful as the beginning, a colourful transition rather than a dark finality. Within the gravitational dance of these stars and planets, there are hidden pockets of perfect stability called Lagrangian points. Visualize two massive bodies, like the Earth and the Moon, pulling on each other with gravity. In the space between and around them, there are 5 specific spots where their forces cancel each other out perfectly. Imagine a leaf floating on a river where 2 currents meet and swirl, creating a still pool where the leaf sits motionless. These are the parking spots of space. If you were to place a satellite or yourself in one of these points, you would stay there forever, locked in a precise, effortless orbit, moving in perfect sync with the planets. It is a cosmic sweet spot, a place of balance where no fuel is needed to maintain your position. Visualize resting in this invisible cradle, watching the Earth and Moon rotate while you hang suspended in the stillness. It represents the harmony of physics, the mathematical proof that even in a dynamic, moving universe, there are places of rest. It is a sanctuary of equilibrium, where the push and pull of the world neutralize, leaving you in a state of perfect weightless suspension. Finally, we contemplate the flow that carries us all, the arrow of time. Unlike the dimensions of space, where we can move left or right, up or down, time flows in only one direction, forward. This is driven by entropy, the gradual drift of the universe from order to disorder. Visualize a sugar cube melting in a cup of hot tea. It spreads out, sweetening the water, but it will never gather itself back into a cube. This is the universe unwinding. But do not see this as a decay. See it as a release. The universe is slowly relaxing. The tight knots of energy from the Big Bang are loosening, spreading out, warming the cold void. Imagine the tension of the cosmos slowly dissipating, like a muscle unclenching after a long day. This one-way flow is what gives moments their value. A sunset is beautiful because it doesn't last. A laugh is precious because it is a fleeting vibration in the air. Visualize yourself floating down this river of time, not fighting the current, but leaning back and letting it carry you. The flow is smooth and inevitable, moving toward a state of ultimate equilibrium where everything is even, calm, and quiet. It is the ultimate letting go, the assurance that the universe is moving toward a state of perfect rest. As we drift down this river of time, observing the slow unwinding of the universe, we arrive at the ultimate destination of entropy, a state of profound tranquility known as the heat death, or the big freeze. Visualize a future so distant that the concept of years becomes meaningless. In this era, the grand engines of the cosmos have finally exhausted their fuel, the last star has flickered out, and the galaxies have dissolved into a diffuse mist of particles. Imagine a universe that is a perfectly still, dark ocean. There are no waves, no currents, and no storms, for energy has spread out so evenly that nothing can happen anymore. It is not a death in the tragic sense, but a settling into a permanent peaceful slumber. The temperature hovers just a fraction above absolute zero everywhere, a uniform blanket of cold. Picture the cosmos as a calm lake at twilight, where the water is glass smooth, reflecting nothing but the infinite dark. In this state, time itself loses its meaning, for if nothing changes, there is no way to mark the passing of moments. It is the ultimate meditation, a state of perfect equilibrium where the universe has finally found its rest after trillions of years of activity. Let this image of absolute stillness soothe you. It is a promise that all noise, all struggle, and all chaos will eventually resolve into a boundless silent peace. Before that final twilight falls, there is a long, quiet era populated by the ghosts of stars. These are the black dwarfs. Visualize a white dwarf, the hot, dense core of a dead sun, slowly radiating its heat away over eons. As it cools, its brilliant white light fades to yellow, then to red, and finally, it goes dark. It becomes a black dwarf, a sphere of degenerate matter, a crystal of carbon and oxygen floating invisibly in the void. No human eye has ever seen one, for the universe is not yet old enough for them to exist. It takes longer than the current age of the cosmos for a star to cool this completely. Imagine these invisible sentinels drifting through the dark, perfect spheres of cold diamond the size of Earth, weighing as much as the sun. They are the monuments of the stellar era, preserving the mass of their ancestors in the cold dark. Picture yourself sensing them not by sight, but by the gentle tug of their gravity as you float past. They are the silent archives of the galaxy, holding the history of burned-out solar systems within their frozen lattices. In their presence, we feel the immense scale of the future, a timeline so long that our current era of bright starlight is merely a brief flash in the pan, a momentary spark before the long, dark and peaceful vigil of the cold stones. Long before the stars go cold, however, our own galactic home is destined for a magnificent transformation. We are moving toward a rendezvous with our great sister, the Andromeda Galaxy. This is not a collision of destruction, but a merger of grace, a cosmic dance that will reshape the night sky. Visualize looking up from a future Earth and seeing the band of the Milky Way joined by a second, larger glowing disk, growing brighter night after night. Over billions of years, these two spirals will pass through each other. Because the space between stars is so vast, it is unlikely that any two stars will actually crash. Instead, they will glide past one another like ghosts. Imagine the sky filled with a chaotic, beautiful spray of new star formation, triggered by the gravitational embrace. The orderly spiral arms will be stretched and pulled into long tides of light, swirling together to form a new, elliptical giant, often called Milkomeda. Visualize the two supermassive black holes at the centers of the galaxies spiraling toward each other, destined to merge. It is a slow-motion ballet on a scale that defies comprehension, a union that will create a larger, grander, safe harbor for the trillions of stars within. Feel the anticipation of this union, a reminder that even galaxies are not static islands, but dynamic travelers seeking connection in the dark. As a result of such gravitational dances, the halos of galaxies are often wrapped in ribbons of light known as stellar streams. Visualize a small dwarf galaxy, wandering too close to a giant like the Milky Way. The giant's gravity captures it, but instead of swallowing it whole, it gently unravels it. Imagine a ball of yarn being pulled by a loose thread, unspooling into a long, thin line. This stream of stars wraps around the galaxy in a great glowing arc, a celestial river flowing through the halo. These stars move together, sharing the same speed and direction, a ghostly procession of a kingdom that once was. Visualize yourself floating above the galactic disk, looking down to see these faint, beautiful loops tracing the invisible, gravitational highways of the galaxy. They are the fossils of galactic history, telling the story of how our home grew by gathering smaller neighbours into its fold. There is no violence in this imagery, only a smooth, fluid integration. The stars from the stream eventually mingle with the native population, bringing with them new elements and new stories, enriching the tapestry of the galaxy. It is a vision of unity, where distinct currents eventually merge into the one great ocean of starlight. Among the neighbours that dance with us, two hold a special place in our southern skies: the Magellanic Clouds. These are irregular dwarf galaxies, satellites of the Milky Way, tethered to us by gravity. Visualize them not as perfect spirals, but as chaotic, artistic splashes of light, like clouds of phosphorescent paint thrown against the black canvas. They are wild and active, bursting with the energy of new star formation. Imagine drifting closer to the large Magellanic Cloud, entering the Tarantula Nebula within it. This is a factory of giants, a region so luminous that if it were as close to us as Orion, it would cast shadows on the Earth at night. Here, the gas is churning and glowing, lit up by clusters of massive young blue stars. Feel the vibrancy of this place, a rough and tumble frontier compared to the sedate suburbs of our own galaxy. The Magellanic Clouds are travellers passing through, interacting with the Milky Way's halo, leaving a trail of gas behind them called the Magellanic Stream. They serve as a reminder that our galaxy has companions, faithful pets that circle our perimeter, adding their own chaotic beauty to the order of our spiral home. Within these fields of stars, there are silhouettes that block the light, patches of profound darkness known as dark nebulae, or molecular clouds. The most famous of these is the coal sack, a patch of sky so black it looks like a hole in the heavens. Visualize a cloud of dust and gas so thick and cold that not a single photon of visible light can penetrate it. It stands in stark contrast to the glittering starfield behind it, a void within the light. But this darkness is not empty. It is pregnant with potential. Inside this cold cocoon, shielded from the harsh radiation of the outside universe, molecules are forming. Imagine hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen finding each other in the dark, linking arms to create the building blocks of ice and dust. It is a cosmic laboratory operating in the shadows. Visualize the temperature dropping to hundreds of degrees below zero, a deep freeze that allows gravity to begin its subtle work of clumping matter together. These are the wombs of stars. Before the brilliance of a sun can shine, there must first be the safety of the dark. Rest your mind in this velvety shadow, feeling the comfort of a place where the seeds of light are sown in absolute secrecy and silence. Where the starlight does strike the dust, the darkness transforms into a soft ethereal glow known as a reflection nebula. Unlike the fiery red emission nebulae that create their own light, these clouds merely reflect the light of nearby stars, acting like a cosmic mirror. Because blue light scatters more easily than red, the same reason our sky is blue, these nebulae glow with a ghostly, cool azure hue. Visualize the Pleiades, the seven sisters, wrapped in a delicate veil of blue mist. It looks like wisps of chiffon caught in a breeze, draped elegantly around the bright diamond-hard stars. Imagine floating through this fog, bathed in a soft twilight illumination. It is a place of gentle aesthetics, where the harshness of the star's glare is diffused into a calming atmospheric glow. The dust here is fine, like smoke, weaving complex patterns of filaments and waves as it's pushed by the stellar wind. It creates a dreamlike landscape of soft edges and blurred lines, a soothing celestial fog that invites you to drift and dissolve into the blue haze. Zooming into the denser parts of these star-forming regions, we find small, isolated patches of blackness called Bok globules. Visualize a tiny, dark island floating against a background of glowing pink gas. It looks like a drop of black ink in a glass of water. These are the smallest and most isolated cocoons of star formation. Inside this tight, spherical knot of dust, a single solar system is being born, or perhaps a binary pair. It is a private room in the nursery of the galaxy. Imagine the isolation inside, cut off from the noise and radiation of the surrounding nebula. It is a place of focus. Gravity is pulling everything toward the center, collapsing the cloud onto itself. While the rest of the nebula might be chaotic and turbulent, the Bok globule is self-contained and purposeful. It represents the intimacy of creation, the idea that even in a universe of billions, there are spaces carved out for the individual origin of a single star. Feel the protective shell of the globule, a barrier that ensures the fragile process of birth can occur undisturbed, a quiet, incubating egg waiting to hatch a new sun. As the new star inside wakes up, it announces its presence not with a whimper, but with a powerful jet of energy. These are her big hero objects. Visualize the protostar, still hidden within its dusty cocoon, spinning rapidly. As it feeds on the gas around it, it ejects excess material from its poles at supersonic speeds. Imagine two thin, straight beams of hot gas shooting out into the dark, travelling for trillions of miles. When these jets slam into the surrounding cold gas of the nebula, they create glowing bow shocks, like the wake of a boat moving through water. These shocks glow with the light of excited atoms, painting bright streaks of neon green and red across the dark cloud. It is the first breath of a star, a violent, energetic exhale that clears the way for its eventual debut. Picture the silence of the nebula interrupted by these sonic booms of light, a testament to the raw power contained in the birth of a celestial object. It is a display of youthful energy, a dynamic sculpture created by the friction between the new star and its ancient environment. Finally, the star emerges from its cocoon, entering the phase known as a T-Tauri star. This is the adolescence of a sun. The star is fully formed, but it has not yet settled into the steady rhythm of adulthood. It is volatile, bright, and unpredictable. Visualize a star that flickers and flares, its surface covered in massive star spots, spinning wildly with the enthusiasm of youth. It is still surrounded by the remnants of its birth cloud, a disk of dust and rock that will eventually form its planets. Imagine the T-Tauri wind, a powerful gale blowing outward from the star, pushing away the remaining veil of gas. It is cleaning its house, clearing the space around it to allow its future planets to orbit in peace. The light from this star is strong and variable, illuminating the swirling dust of the protoplanetary disk, casting long, shifting shadows as the debris orbits. It represents the potential of what is to come, a chaotic but promising beginning that will eventually settle into the steady, life-giving warmth of a mature main sequence star. Watch as the dust slowly clears, revealing the shiny new object in the center, ready to begin its billions of years' journey through the cosmos. As the fierce winds of the young star begin to settle, clearing the upper atmosphere of the nebula, our gaze lowers to the swirling ring of material that remains. This is the protoplanetary disk, the great flat factory of worlds. Visualize a colossal phonograph record made of dust and gas, spanning billions of miles, spinning in a majestic, silent rhythm around the golden child in the center. It is not a solid surface, but a dense, flowing river of particles, grains of sand, crystals of ice, and pebbles of iron, all moving in the same direction, a synchronized dance of potential matter. Imagine floating above this disk, looking down at the texture of creation. It is painted in hues of charcoal, rust, and slate, illuminated by the grazing light of the central star, which casts long, shifting shadows across the ridges and valleys of the dust. This is the raw clay of the solar system, waiting to be moulded. Feel the anticipation in this spinning landscape, where the chaos of the nebula has been tamed into a flattened plane of order. It is a place of sorting, where the heat of the star pushes the lighter gases outward, leaving the heavier rocks closer to the hearth. Drifting through the thinner outer edges, you can feel the cold solitude, while the inner rings glow with the warmth of friction and proximity. It is here, in this dusty halo, that the blueprint of a family of planets is being drawn, a magnificent, swirling mess that will one day become a home. Within this swirling disk, a process of incredible delicacy begins, a phenomenon known as accretion. It starts not with a bang, but with a touch. Visualize two microscopic grains of dust drifting through the vacuum. They bump into each other, not with violence, but with a gentle kiss, held together by the faint tug of static electricity, the same force that makes a balloon stick to a wall. In the silence of space, these tiny embraces happen trillions of times, building dust bunnies of cosmic proportions. Imagine these fragile clumps growing, slowly gathering more and more material until they become pebbles, then boulders, and eventually mountains floating in the void. These are planetesimals, the seeds of planets. Visualize a chaotic yet creative environment where rocks the size of cities tumble and collide. Sometimes they shatter, returning to dust, but often they merge, their gravities combining to pull in even more material. It is a snowball effect on a galactic scale. Picture the surface of one of these growing worlds, a patchwork of different rocks and ices, a mosaic of the solar system's history. Gravity begins to smooth out the rough edges, pulling the growing mass into a sphere, the most perfect shape in nature. It is a process of patience, a slow accumulation of mass over millions of years, turning the floating dust of the disk into solid, enduring worlds. As we move outward from the heat of the young sun, we cross an invisible but critical boundary known as the frost line. This is the cosmic snow line, the specific distance from the star where it becomes cold enough for volatile compounds like water, ammonia, and methane to freeze into solid ice. Visualize crossing this threshold. Behind you, closer to the star, the space is dry and rocky, filled with metals and silicates that can withstand the heat. But crossing the line, the universe suddenly glitters with crystals. Here, the dust grains are coated in thick frosts, making them sticky and abundant. Imagine a realm where snow is as common as stone. This abundance of solid material allows the planets here to grow rapidly, becoming massive cores that can trap the surrounding gas. This is why the gas giants live in the outer darkness, while the smaller, rocky worlds huddle near the fire. Visualize this line as a shimmering curtain of ice crystals, a boundary that decided the destiny of the solar system. It separates the terrestrial from the jovial, the dry rock from the deep gas. Floating past this line feels like entering a winter wonderland of the void, where the building blocks of oceans are preserved in a deep cryogenic sleep, waiting to be delivered to the thirsty worlds within. But these newborn giants do not always stay where they were born. They are restless wanderers. This is the concept of planetary migration. Visualize the massive gas giants, like Jupiter and Saturn, as great ships sailing through the sea of gas and dust. As they move, they create wakes and waves in the disk, transferring energy to the material around them. This interaction can cause the planets to drift, spiraling inward toward the star or outward into the deep. Imagine a Jupiter-sized world slowly cruising through the solar system, pushing aside smaller rocks, scattering asteroids like a plough moving through snow. This movement reshapes the entire architecture of the system. A planet might form in the cold outer reaches and then journey inward, disrupting the orbits of its neighbours, a cosmic bull in a china shop. Feel the immense silent power of this drift, a gravitational dominance that rearranges the furniture of the solar system. It suggests that the stable orbits we see today are the result of a chaotic, ancient shuffle. Visualize the planets settling into their final positions, finding a resonance, a harmony where their gravitational tugs balance out, locking them into the stable rhythm we know today. It is a history of movement, a reminder that even the largest gods of the sky were once nomads seeking their place in the dark. After the giants settled, the solar system experienced a final, dramatic sculpting event known as the Late Heavy Bombardment. Visualize a period, billions of years ago, when the orderly orbits of the asteroids and comets were disturbed, sending a rain of rock plunging toward the inner planets. While it sounds violent, picture it as a necessary delivery service. The early Earth was hot and dry, a barren rock. These impacting comets brought with them the ice from the frost line, shattering upon impact and releasing their water as steam, which eventually condensed to form the first oceans. Imagine standing on a young, rugged Earth, watching the sky streak with fire night after night, a display of raw cosmic energy. These impacts scarred the face of the moon, creating the man-in-the-moon features we see today. Vast basins of lava that filled the craters. See this not as destruction, but as the final coat of paint, the texturing of the worlds. It was a time of transformation, where the wandering debris of the solar system found a home, becoming part of the planets. It connects the water in your glass to the ice of the deep outer solar system, a gift delivered by a falling stone eons ago. Let the chaos of that time resolve into the peace of the present, knowing that those ancient scars are now silent, still monuments to the dynamic history of our home. The remnants of this chaotic era settled into a stable region we now call the asteroid belt. Visualize a vast, sparse ring of rocks floating between Mars and Jupiter. Unlike the crowded fields seen in movies, the space here is immense and empty. You could stand on one asteroid and not see another for thousands of miles, just a distant speck of light against the stars. Imagine these rocks as the debris of the construction site, the leftover bricks that were never used to build a planet. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some are jagged splinters of iron, others are dusty piles of rubble held together loosely by gravity. They tumble slowly in the silence, exposing different faces to the distant sun. Some are rich in platinum and gold, floating treasures in the dark. Others are simple carbon, as black as coal. Feel the profound loneliness of this place, a graveyard of potential that was kept from coalescing by the bullying gravity of Jupiter. It is a collection of orphans drifting in a synchronized stream. Drifting through this belt is a journey through a museum of the early solar system, where the pristine, untouched materials of billions of years ago are preserved in the cold vacuum, tumbling endlessly in the void. Ruling over this field of debris is the dwarf planet Ceres, the queen of the belt. Visualize a world small enough to fit inside Texas, yet perfectly round, a sign that it has enough gravity to pull itself into a sphere. It is a dark world, covered in dusty clay, but as you approach, you see startlingly bright spots shining from the bottoms of its craters. These are not city lights, but vast deposits of salt left behind by evaporating water. Imagine a world where cryovolcanoes, ice volcanoes, erupt not with lava, but with salty slush and water vapour, freezing instantly in the vacuum to create glittering plumes. Sirius is a wet world in a dry place, possibly hiding a muddy ocean beneath its frozen crust. It sits alone in the darkness, a miniature planet that never grew up. Picture yourself standing on its surface, where the gravity is so low you could jump over a house. You would see the sun as a small, bright coin in the black sky. It is a lonely outpost, a bridge between a rock and a planet, holding its secrets in the salt deposits that sparkle like diamonds in the gloom of the asteroid belt. Beyond the main belt, gravity creates other safe harbours where asteroids gather, known as the Trojan asteroids. These rocks do not orbit alone. They share the orbit of Jupiter, marching in two great camps, one massive group leading the giant planet and another trailing behind it. Visualize these asteroids as the royal guard of the gas giant, trapped in the stable Lagrangian points we visualized earlier. They are locked in a permanent dance, always keeping the same distance from Jupiter and the Sun. Imagine them as a fog of ancient rocks, dark and red-tinted, that have been trapped there since the birth of the solar system. They are captives of gravity, unable to leave their stable zones. To be a Trojan is to be part of a celestial flock, moving in unison through the dark. Because they are so stable, they have witnessed the entire history of the solar system from their quiet corner. Visualize drifting among them, feeling the massive presence of Jupiter looming in the distance, the shepherd that keeps this flock together. It is a demonstration of the order that emerges from gravity, where even stray rocks find a place to belong, marching in step with the king of planets. Occasionally a rock slips away from these stable belts and wanders into the inner solar system, becoming a near-Earth object, NEO. Visualize a silent mountain of stone, tumbling end over end, passing through the neighbourhood of Earth. These are the quiet passers-by of the cosmos. Most of them pass at safe distances, millions of miles away, mere specks in our telescopes. But imagine the sensory experience of a close approach. A massive, grey, cratered rock glides silently through the blackness, illuminated by the harsh sunlight. It has no atmosphere, no sound, just a tumbling mass of history. It might block out the stars for a moment as it passes, a floating island in the void. There is a primal awe in realizing that space is not empty, but filled with these wandering stones. They are the reminders that we are part of a larger active system. Visualize the Earth as a ship sailing through a sea of reefs. These objects are the submerged rocks we navigate around. They are not malicious. They are simply following the curves of gravity, tracing their own ancient paths. Watch one drift by, peaceful and slow, disappearing back into the darkness from whence it came, a traveller that briefly shared our space before continuing its eternal lonely voyage. Finally, when one of these tiny cosmic wanderers encounters the Earth, it creates one of the most beautiful sights in the night sky, a meteor or shooting star. Visualize a grain of sand, perhaps from a comet's tail or a shattered asteroid, colliding with the upper atmosphere at tens of thousands of miles per hour. For billions of years, it has known only the cold and the dark. Suddenly it meets the air. Imagine the intense friction, the air molecules slamming into the particle so hard that they ignite into a glowing plasma. For a brief second, the grain of sand becomes a brilliant streak of white, green, or yellow light, painting a line across the stars. It is a moment of glorious transformation, where a solid piece of the universe turns into pure light and heat, vaporizing completely. Visualize lying on your back in a grassy field, watching this silent firework. It is the universe knocking on our door. That streak of light is the final signature of a traveller that has journeyed further than we ever will. It is a connection between the immensity of space and the intimacy of your own eyes. As the trail fades, leaving only a memory on your retina, feel the protection of the atmosphere, the shield that turns rocks into wishes, keeping us safe while offering us a fleeting moment of wonder to close our eyes and dream upon. As the trail of the shooting star fades from your vision, let your mind travel back up that path of light, soaring higher and higher, leaving the cool atmosphere of Earth behind until you find yourself hovering near the majestic golden surface of the sun itself. This is the photosphere, the visible face of our star. From a distance, it appears as a smooth, perfect orb, but here, up close, you can see it as a living, breathing ocean of fire. Visualize the texture of this surface. It is not solid ground, but a shifting mosaic of granules, like the surface of a pot of simmering honey. Each of these golden bubbles is a convection cell the size of Texas. Imagine bright, hot plasma rising from the deep interior, bubbling up to the surface to release its light, and then cooling and sinking back down in the darker lanes between the granules. It creates a pattern that looks like a field of glowing corn kernels, constantly shifting and reforming. There is a hypnotic rhythm to it, a slow-motion boiling that has continued for billions of years. Watch as the granules emerge and dissolve, a continuous turnover of energy that paints the surface of the sun in a dynamic, ever-changing texture. Despite the unimaginable heat, there is a beauty in this order, a fluid architecture of light that creates the steady sunshine warming the planets far away. Feel the immense power contained in this bubbling skin, a golden fluid that is both the ceiling of the sun's interior and the floor of its atmosphere. Drifting across this bubbling sea of gold, you encounter islands of strange, dark stillness. These are sunspots. Visualize them not as holes, but as regions where the temperature has dropped, creating a contrast that appears black against the brilliance of the surrounding plasma. They are the magnetic knots of the sun, places where the star's magnetic field has become so twisted and strong that it stops the hot gas from rising. Imagine floating over one of these dark archipelagos, seeing the central shadow or umbra surrounded by a lighter penumbral ring that looks like the iris of a giant eye. It is a storm of silence. While the rest of the sun boils and moves, the sunspot is a place of magnetic tension, a dam holding back the river of heat. They are vast, often large enough to swallow the earth whole, yet they possess a transient grace, drifting across the face of the sun like clouds across a summer sky. Over days and weeks they change shape, merging and splitting, driven by the invisible, twisting lines of force beneath them. There is a coolness here, relatively speaking, a respite from the ferocity of the photosphere, where the magnetism is so powerful it creates a localized winter in the middle of an inferno. It serves as a reminder that even in the heart of a star, there are variations, textures, and imperfections that add to its character and mystery. Rising from these magnetic regions, we witness one of the solar system's most graceful structures, a solar prominence. Visualize a colossal loop of glowing red plasma, arching up from the surface and curving back down, like a bridge of fire spanning a gap between sunspots. It is suspended in the emptiness, defying gravity, held up entirely by invisible magnetic fields. Imagine a ribbon of hot gas, hundreds of thousands of miles long, glowing with the specific red light of hydrogen. It looks like a handle on the side of the sun, or a great fiery gateway. Watch as the plasma flows along the invisible magnetic lines, sliding up one leg of the arch and down the other, a smooth, continuous river of fire flowing through the sky. Unlike the explosive flares, the prominence is stable and poised, often lasting for weeks. It is a sculpture made of light and magnetism. Imagine the Earth passing underneath that arch. It would be a tiny speck, a marble rolling under the Golden Gate Bridge. The scale is humbling, yet the movement is slow and elegant. It is the sun weaving its own atmosphere into loops and knots, decorating itself with bands of energy that rise and fall with a silent, majestic cadence, proving that gravity is not the only sculptor in the heavens. Drifting higher still, leaving the yellow surface behind, we enter the sun's outer atmosphere, the corona. This is a realm of ghostly beauty, visible to human eyes only during the fleeting darkness of a total eclipse. Visualize a crown of pearly white light stretching out millions of miles into the black void. It is wispy and delicate, like streamers of white silk blowing in a gentle wind. Unlike the dense boiling surface below, the corona is ethereal, a rarefied fog of plasma that is strangely, mysteriously hotter than the surface of the sun itself. Imagine floating in this tenuous mist, where the particles are so sparse that you can see the stars shining through them, yet they vibrate with intense energy. The light here is not the harsh yellow of day, but a soft spectral glow, haloing the star in a celestial aura. It follows the magnetic field lines, creating streamers and plumes that taper off into the darkness of the solar system. It creates a sense of softness around the hard sphere of the sun, a blurring of the boundary between the star and the space around it. To witness the corona is to see the sun's breath, the exhaled atmosphere that eventually becomes the solar wind, expanding gently until it touches every planet in the system. Underlying all this activity is a deep, slow rhythm known as the solar cycle. The sun is not constant. It changes, it breathes. Visualize a heartbeat that lasts 11 years. At the beginning of the cycle, the sun is quiet, its face flawless and golden, with no spots or storms. This is the solar minimum, a time of calm. Then, slowly, as the years pass, the magnetic field lines inside the star begin to tangle and twist. Sunspots appear like freckles, then multiply. Flares erupt, and the corona glows brighter. This builds to the solar maximum, a crescendo of activity where the star is wild, dynamic, and covered in storms. Then, the poles of the sun flip, north becomes south, south becomes north, and the activity subsides, quieting down once more to begin the cycle anew. Imagine this not as a chaotic mess, but as a deep, resonant breathing. Inhale, exhale, chaos, order. It is a pendulum of magnetic energy swinging back and forth over a decade. This cycle affects the entire solar system, expanding and contracting the atmosphere of Earth, modulating the cosmic rays that reach us. It is the seasons of the star itself. Feel the comfort in this predictability, the knowledge that our star has a pulse, a long, slow rhythm that marks the passage of time on a galactic scale. Deep inside the sun, far beneath the surface we have explored, another messenger is born, the neutrino. These are the ghost particles of the universe. Created in the nuclear furnace of the core, they fly outward at nearly the speed of light, but unlike photons, they do not bounce or collide. They pass through the dense layers of the sun as if it were made of mist. Visualize a stream of these tiny invisible particles flooding out into the universe. They are so indifferent to matter that they pass through the Earth, and through you, without slowing down. Imagine that right now, as you rest, trillions of solar neutrinos are passing through your body every second. They do not touch you. They do not harm you. They are merely passing through, carrying the secret story of the sun's core directly to the cosmos. It connects you intimately to the nuclear heart of the star. You are transparent to them. Visualize this constant, invisible rain, a silent river of particles that flows through planets and stars alike, unhindered by walls, rocks, or distance. It is a reminder that there are layers of reality we cannot feel, a hidden dimension of activity that flows through the silence, connecting the deep interior of the sun to the space you occupy in this very moment. The sun does not just emit light and particles, it also sings. This is the science of helioseismology. Just as Earth has earthquakes, the sun has starquakes that send sound waves rippling through its interior. Visualize the sun as a gigantic spherical bell. The turbulence of the boiling surface strikes the bell, causing it to ring. These sound waves travel deep into the core and bounce back to the surface, causing the sun to throb and pulsate in complex patterns. You cannot hear this sound with your ears, for it is too low and travels through vacuum, but you can see the surface rising and falling in a rhythmic breath. Imagine these acoustic waves travelling through the hot plasma, revealing the secrets of the hidden interior just by the tone of the ring. It creates a harmony of vibrations, a celestial music that resonates through the entire body of the star. Visualize the sun expanding and contracting by small amounts, breathing in a complex, multi-layered rhythm. It turns the star into a musical instrument, resonating with the energy of its own fusion, a symphony of gravity and pressure playing a song that has lasted for billions of years in the quiet dark. Sometimes, by a stroke of cosmic luck, the mechanics of the heavens align perfectly to reveal these hidden layers. This is the solar eclipse. Consider the impossible coincidence. The sun is 400 times wider than the moon, but it is also exactly 400 times farther away. This geometry means that in the sky of Earth, they appear to be exactly the same size. Visualize the moment of totality. The moon, a dark, silent circle, slides in front of the blazing sun. The daylight fades into an eerie silver twilight. The birds stop singing and the air grows cold. For a few precious minutes, the sun is replaced by a black hole in the sky, surrounded by the gossamer halo of the white corona. Imagine the diamond ring effect just before totality, a single bead of bright sunlight shining through a valley on the moon, creating the appearance of a sparkling jewel on a ring of light. It is a moment of absolute alignment, where the three bodies, Earth, Moon, and Sun, snap into a perfect line. Feel the rarity of this event. Earth is the only planet in the solar system with a moon of just the right size and distance to create this perfect cover. It is a gift of perspective, a fleeting alignment that unveils the hidden beauty of the star's atmosphere, turning the day into a magical, suspended dream. As the shadow of the moon passes, we look back at our own planet to see another line that is constantly moving, the terminator. This is the border between day and night, the line of sunset and sunrise. Visualize the Earth spinning in the dark, half bathed in golden sunlight, half sleeping in the blue shadow. The terminator is the fuzzy line where these two worlds meet. Imagine hovering above the planet, watching this line sweep across the continents and oceans at 1,000 miles an hour. Along this line, it is always twilight. People are waking up, brewing coffee and watching the sun rise, or they are finishing their day, watching the colours fade into purple. It is a wave of transition that never stops. To be on the terminator is to be in the blue hour, that magical time when the streetlights flick on and the sky turns a deep, rich indigo. Visualize this band of soft light caressing the mountains, slipping into the valleys and racing across the plains. It connects all of humanity in a cycle of waking and resting. It is the visual edge of time itself passing over the globe, a gentle reminder that light and dark are not enemies, but partners in the rhythmic cycle of our lives. Finally, in the deep shadow of that night side, we look up again at the moon and see a faint ghostly glow on its dark portion. This is Earthshine. When the moon is a thin crescent, you can sometimes see the rest of the round disk faintly illuminated, glowing with a soft ash-grey light. This is not sunlight. It is the light of the Earth reflecting onto the moon. Visualize the sunlight striking the clouds, the ice caps, and the oceans of Earth, bouncing off our bright world, travelling across the void and illuminating the dark night of the moon. To a person standing on the moon, the full Earth would be 50 times brighter than the full moon is to us, bathing the lunar landscape in a cool blue radiance. When you see Earthshine, you're seeing yourself in a mirror. You're seeing the light of your own home reflected back to you from space. It is often poetically called the old moon in the new moon's arms. Let this image comfort you. The idea that the Earth is a source of light in the darkness, a beacon that dispels the shadows on our nearest neighbour, a soft, reciprocal glow that binds the two worlds together in a silent exchange of luminescence. From the gentle, ghostly reflection of Earthshine on the Moon, we drift back toward our home planet, moving through the invisible, protective layers that surround it. Here, we encounter the Van Allen radiation belts. Visualize two colossal, donut-shaped rings of energetic charged particles that encircle the Earth, held in place by the planet's magnetic grip. They are invisible to the eye, yet they are roiling with power. Imagine these belts as a cosmic catch-and-release system. The solar wind streaming from the sun carries high-energy electrons and protons. When they strike Earth's magnetic field, they are trapped, spiraling frantically back and forth between the north and south poles along the magnetic lines. Visualize this movement as a shimmering invisible cage buzzing with trapped energy. These belts are the guardians that prevent the harshest radiation from reaching the surface, but for a spacecraft passing through, they're a sea of fire. Imagine the particles pinging against the hull of a ship, a silent hail of subatomic bullets. There is an inner belt, compact and intense, and an outer belt, vast and fluctuating, expanding and contracting with the moods of the sun. They act as a buffer zone, a dynamic shield that absorbs the blows of the solar storm so that the atmosphere below can remain calm. Floating here, you're in the buffer zone of the planet, witnessing the silent, energetic struggle between the sun's aggression and the Earth's magnetic defense. As we glide along the magnetic lines of these belts, we notice a peculiar dip in the shield known as the South Atlantic Anomaly. This is a region over South America and the Southern Atlantic Ocean, where the Earth's inner Van Allen belt dips dangerously close to the atmosphere. Visualize the magnetic field here as a dented umbrella, allowing the cosmic rain to fall closer to the ground. For satellites passing through this region, it is a Bermuda Triangle of space. Computers glitch, sensors fail, and Hubble shuts its eyes to avoid damage. But for the astronauts on the International Space Station, it offers a strange sensory experience. Imagine closing your eyes in the darkness of orbit, yet seeing sudden bright flashes of white or blue light dancing in your vision. These are phosphenes, caused by high-energy cosmic rays passing effortlessly through the hull of the station and striking the retina of the eye directly. It is a reminder that the protection of space is fragile. In this anomaly, the barrier between the safety of Earth and the harshness of the void is at its thinnest. It feels like a weak spot in the armour, a place where the universe reaches in a little deeper, touching the technology and the biology of the traveller with its invisible, energetic fingers. Descending from the high radiation zones, we approach the boundary that defines where the atmosphere ends and the cosmos begins, the Kármán line. Located 62 miles above sea level, this is the imaginary threshold of space. Visualize rising up from the ground, watching the deep blue of the sky slowly thinning. As you ascend, the rich azure fades to a royal blue, then to a deep indigo, and finally, right at this line, it dissolves into the absolute crushing black of space. It is not a sudden wall, but a gradient of fading light. Imagine floating exactly at this level. Below you, the atmosphere forms a glowing, delicate halo around the curvature of the Earth. A thin ribbon of breathable air that looks impossibly fragile against the darkness. Above you, the stars stop twinkling and become steady, piercing points of light, for there is no more air to distort them. This line represents the limit of aeronautics. Above this point, wings no longer work and one must rely on rockets and orbital mechanics. It is the shore of the cosmic ocean. Feel the stillness here, where the winds of the world below have ceased and the vacuum begins to take hold. It is a place of profound perspective, the exact moment where the planet becomes a sphere and the sky becomes a universe. Crossing this line, we do not simply float, we fall. This is the sensation of orbital velocity. To stay in space, one must move sideways fast enough to miss the Earth. Visualize standing on a high mountain and throwing a stone. It curves down and hits the ground. Throw it harder and it goes further. Now imagine throwing it at 17,500 miles per hour. The stone falls toward the Earth, but the Earth's surface curves away underneath it at the exact same rate. This is orbit, a perpetual controlled freefall. Visualize yourself in this state, constantly falling toward the planet but never reaching it. It is a delicate balance between gravity pulling you down and momentum carrying you forward. The speed is unimaginable, 5 miles every second. Yet, because there is no air to rush past your ears, no bumps in the road, and no reference points nearby, it feels like perfect stillness. You are racing the sun, circling the globe every 90 minutes, witnessing 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets in a single day. It is a ride on a carousel the size of a planet, a smooth, silent glide that defies the intuition of speed, holding you suspended in a fast-moving embrace of mathematics and gravity. In this state of perpetual freefall, the body experiences the profound freedom of microgravity. We often call it weightlessness, but gravity is still there. You're simply surrendering to it completely. Visualize the sensation of your body unlearning the rules of a lifetime. There is no up or down anymore. The blood, usually pulled to your feet, shifts upward, making your face feel full and warm. Your spine, no longer compressed by the weight of your head and shoulders, expands, making you taller. Imagine pouring a glass of water. The liquid does not fall, but gathers into a perfect trembling sphere, floating in the air like a jewel. You can push off a wall with a single finger and drift across the room like a cloud. It is the closest a human can come to being a spirit, untethered from the heavy anchor of the earth. Sleeping here means floating in a sleeping bag hooked to a wall, arms drifting up in front of you like a sleepwalker. It is a return to a womb-like state, a suspension in a fluid environment where the strain of standing, lifting and holding is washed away, leaving only the effortless drift of the body through the air. Drifting in this weightless environment, we find ourselves looking out from the cupola of the International Space Station. Visualize a dome of 7 windows facing the Earth, the ultimate observation deck. This is humanity's eye in the sky. Floating here, looking down, you see the world without borders. You see the Amazon River winding like a brown snake through a sea of green. You see the Himalayas casting long, jagged shadows at sunset. You see the thunderstorms over the Pacific as silent, strobing flashes of light in the clouds, like fireflies trapped in cotton. At night, the cities of Earth awaken as glowing webs of gold and amber, tracing the coastlines and rivers, a map of humanity written in light. Imagine the silence of the station, broken only by the hum of fans as you watch the continents roll by beneath you. It is a view that is both godlike and humbling. You can see the thinness of the atmosphere, the scars of meteor craters, and the vast, lonely stretches of ocean. It is a place of quiet reflection, a window that turns the entire planet into a piece of living art, constantly changing, breathing, and rotating in the silence of the void. This vantage point triggers a profound shift in consciousness known as the overview effect. Astronauts who spend time looking at the Earth from space often report a cognitive change, a sudden, overwhelming realization of the planet's fragility and unity. Visualize the Earth not as a place of nations, politics, or wars, but as a single, tiny biological system floating in an endless, hostile dark. From here, you cannot see borders, you cannot see ideology. You only see a small blue marble shielded by a paper-thin layer of gas. Imagine feeling a deep, protective love for this sphere, a sense of stewardship that transcends your individual life. The problems that seem so large on the ground, traffic, arguments, deadlines, dissolve into insignificance against the backdrop of the stars. It is a feeling of intense connection to the human species as a whole, a realization that we are all travelers on the same ship. Let this feeling wash over you, a sense of breaking free from the tribalism of the surface and embracing a planetary identity. It is a peace that comes from seeing the whole picture, a clarity that arrives when you step back and view the home of humanity as one single, precious, and interconnected organism. Surrounding this precious marble, unfortunately, is a glittering ring of our own making, space debris. Visualize a swarm of millions of tiny objects orbiting the Earth, flecks of paint, bolts, dead satellites, and spent rocket stages. It is a man-made ring of smog made of metal. Because they are moving at orbital speeds, even a paint chip hits with the force of a bowling ball. Imagine these objects tumbling silently in the sunlight, glittering like metallic dust. It is the archaeology of the space age, the leftovers of our exploration. There are gloves that floated away from astronauts, tools lost during spacewalks, and the shattered fragments of satellite collisions. While it represents a danger, visualized from a distance, it has a strange, chaotic beauty, a cloud of sparkles encasing the world. It reminds us that we leave our mark wherever we go. Visualize the tracking systems on Earth watching these pieces, calculating their paths to keep the living satellites safe. It is a busy, crowded highway in the sky, a silent testament to 50 years of launching our dreams and our trash into the heavens. Moving far beyond the crowded low orbits, out to a distance of 22,000 miles, we reach the serenity of geosynchronous orbit. This is the high ground. Here, the satellites move at a speed that perfectly matches the rotation of the Earth. Visualize a satellite hanging motionless over a single spot on the equator, staring down like a fixed eye. If you were floating here, the Earth would look much smaller, a full disk in the blackness, and it would seem to stand still, rotating only as you rotate around it. This is the home of our communication satellites, the TV broadcasters, and the weather watchers. It is a calm, orderly belt, far above the atmosphere and the drag. Imagine the view from here. You can see the weather systems moving across entire hemispheres, the march of hurricanes across the Atlantic, and the slow creep of day into night across the globe. It is a place of stability. While the lower orbits are frantic racetracks, this high orbit is a graceful waltz, a synchronized dance where the machine and the planet move as one. Feel the stillness of this high altitude, a permanent vigil kept by our machines in the deep silence of high Earth orbit. Finally, when these high-flying sentinels reach the end of their lives, they are pushed even further out into the graveyard orbit. Visualize a region of space hundreds of miles above the active belts, a designated cosmic cemetery. Here, dead satellites are sent to drift forever, so they do not endanger the living ones. Imagine these massive, silent machines, their solar panels dark, their batteries dead, tumbling slowly in the void. They are the ghosts of communication, the antique technology of decades past, drifting in the eternal cold. There is no air to rust them, so they remain perfectly preserved, monuments to the era in which they were built. Visualize drifting through this silent museum, passing the dark husks of satellites that once carried the voices of millions, now sleeping in the dark. It is a peaceful, if slightly melancholy place. They will orbit here for millions of years, perhaps long after humanity is gone, silent artifacts circling a blue planet. It is the ultimate retirement, a final push into the deep, quiet dark, where they can rest undisturbed, circling the world they once served in a wide, eternal loop of silence. From the silent, tumbling museum of the graveyard orbit, we cast our gaze back down toward the planet, noticing that the darkness of the night side is not truly dark. It is glowing with an amber haze, a phenomenon known as light pollution. Visualize the cities of Earth not as distinct points of light, but as great glowing domes of scattered photons that push back the stars. This is the sky glow, a veil of artificial luminescence that hangs over humanity, cutting us off from the cosmos. Imagine standing in the centre of a metropolis. The skies are muddy purple-grey, and only the brightest stars, Sirius, Vega, Jupiter, can punch through the haze. We measure this loss of night using the Bortle scale. Picture it as a ladder of darkness, At the bottom, Class 9, the inner city sky is a washed-out blank canvas, but as you travel away from the lights, moving down the scale, the veil lifts. Class 5, the Milky Way appears as a faint, ghostly smudge. Class 3, the sky becomes complex and textured. It is a reminder that the universe is always there, waiting for us. We have simply drawn the curtains. Float above this glowing fog, realizing that for much of human history, the night was a familiar friend, a clock, and a storybook. Now, we've created a perpetual twilight, a bubble of electric safety that hides the terrifying, beautiful depth of the true night. Seeking to escape this amber cage, we drift toward the remote sanctuaries of the planet, the international dark sky places. These are the protected parks, the deserts, and the islands where the night is preserved in its pristine state. Visualize arriving at a Bortle Class 1 site, perhaps a canyon in Utah or a remote beach in New Zealand. The difference is physical. The darkness here is not empty, it is heavy, pressing against your skin. When you look up, the sheer number of stars is overwhelming, a chaotic diamond dust that creates shadows on the ground. The Milky Way is not a smudge, but a roaring river of structure, with dark lanes of dust clearly visible against the bright galactic core. You can see the zodiacal light, the air glow, and the faint fuzz of distant clusters. Imagine the sensation of celestial vertigo, the feeling that you could fall upward into that infinite deep. Here, the silence of the land matches the silence of the sky. It is a form of time travel, seeing the heavens exactly as our ancestors saw them 10,000 years ago. Rest in this deep velvet shadow, feeling the ancient rhythm of the true night, a darkness that is not frightening, but rich, soft, and infinitely deep. In this profound quiet, away from the visual noise, we begin to perceive that the universe is not just painting with light, but singing in invisible colours. One of the most subtle of these songs is the 21 centimetre hydrogen line. Visualize the simplest atom in the universe, hydrogen, just one proton and one electron dancing together. Occasionally the electron flips its spin like a coin turning over. When it does, it releases a tiny faint photon of radio energy. It is a whisper, a single note hummed by the atom. But because hydrogen fills the universe, these tiny whispers combine into a cosmic choir. This is the song of the galaxy. It is a radio signal that travels through dust clouds that would block visible light, allowing us to map the spiral arms of the Milky Way even from the inside. Imagine this signal as a low, steady drone, a background hum that permeates all of space. It is the frequency of existence, the universal standard. If we ever communicate with alien civilizations, this line, this length of 21 centimeters, will likely be our common language, a physical constant that everyone in the cosmos can hear. Let yourself tune into this invisible vibration, the collective breath of the interstellar clouds, revealing the shape of our home through the darkness. To hear this whisper, we do not use our ears, but vast ears of metal known as radio telescopes. Visualize a giant white dish nestled in a green valley, pointed silently at the sky. It looks like a cup waiting to catch the rain, but it is catching waves of radio light that have travelled for billions of years. Unlike optical telescopes, these machines do not need darkness. They can see the radio universe even in broad daylight. Imagine standing beneath the massive Arecibo dish or the FAST telescope in China, feeling the sheer scale of the engineering. These dishes are listening for the faint hisses and crackles of pulsars, black holes, and the hydrogen line. The signals they receive are incredibly weak. The total energy of all radio waves ever captured by humanity is less than the energy of a single falling snowflake. Yet, from this faint energy, we construct images of violent galaxies and birth cries of stars. Visualize the data flowing down the cables, not as pictures, but as graphs and sounds, a translation of the universe's invisible language into something our minds can grasp. It is an act of extreme listening, a patient vigil kept by these giant steel flowers, turning their faces toward the heavens to catch the secrets that our eyes can never see. Once, in the long history of this listening, the dishes caught something that made the world hold its breath. This was the wow signal. Visualize a string of data arriving at a telescope in Ohio in 1977. Amidst the low-level static of the background universe, suddenly there is a surge, a loud, clear, intense radio signal on a specific frequency, lasting exactly 72 seconds before vanishing. It was so distinct, so perfect, that the astronomer monitoring the data circled it in red ink and wrote, "Wow," in the margin. Imagine the thrill of that moment, the hair standing up on the back of your neck. Was it a message, a passing ship, a natural anomaly we don't yet understand? We have listened to that spot in the sky thousands of times since, but the silence has returned. It remains a ghost story of astronomy. Visualize that signal as a single, bright note played on a piano in a quiet room, a brief hello that was never repeated. It represents the tantalizing possibility of connection, the feeling that we are perhaps not just listening to static, but that someone, somewhere, might be broadcasting a beacon into the dark, waiting for a receiver to be turned on. If we are listening, we're also speaking. Drifting away from the Earth, moving faster than a bullet, travels a physical testament to our existence, the Voyager Golden Record. Visualize a 12-inch disc made of copper, plated with gold, bolted to the side of the Voyager probes. It is a message in a bottle thrown into the cosmic ocean. Etched into its grooves are the sounds of Earth, the wind, the thunder, the songs of whales, the laughter of a child, and greetings in 55 languages. It carries the music of Bach, Beethoven, and Chuck Berry, sailing through the silence of interstellar space. Imagine this golden artifact glittering in the starlight, billions of miles from home, drifting long after the civilization that built it has turned to dust. It is a gesture of profound hope. It says, we were here, we felt, we sang, we wondered. Visualize an alien intelligence finding it 1 billion years from now, deciphering the instructions and hearing the strange, beautiful cacophony of a wet blue world. It is our immortal lullaby, a memory of humanity preserved in metal, destined to wander the Milky Way for eternity, carrying the spirit of Earth into the infinite. As the Voyager probe carrying that record looked back one last time, it took a photograph that changed our perspective forever. The pale blue dot. Visualize the vast, empty darkness of the solar system. Suspended in a scattered ray of sunlight, almost too small to see, is a single pixel of pale blue light. That is us. That is everything we have ever known. Imagine holding that image in your mind, a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. On that dot, everyone you love, everyone you know, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The wars, the kings, the peasants, the religions, the ideologies, all of it happened on that tiny, fragile speck. It creates a feeling of intense tenderness. From this distance, there is no sign of our struggles, our borders, or our dominance. There is only the lonely beauty of a small world drifting in the great enclosing dark. Let this perspective wash away your anxieties. In the face of such vastness, our problems are microscopic. The pale blue dot is a call for kindness, a reminder to cherish the only home we have ever known, floating alone in the enveloping silence of the void. How do we know so much about these distant dots and stars without ever touching them? We read their rainbows. This is the science of spectroscopy. Visualize a beam of white starlight passing through a glass prism, splitting into a beautiful ribbon of colours: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. But look closer. Missing from this rainbow are tiny dark black lines like a barcode. These are absorption lines. Each element in the universe, hydrogen, helium, calcium, iron, eats a specific colour of light. By reading these missing lines, we can taste the atmosphere of a star light years away. Imagine the universe as a library of barcodes. We can look at a pinprick of light and know that it contains clouds of magnesium or rains of molten iron. It turns the sky into a chemical laboratory. Visualize the light from a distant planet passing through its atmosphere on its way to us. The spectrum tells us if there is water, if there is oxygen, perhaps even if there is life. It is the ultimate forensic science, analysing the fingerprints of atoms across the gulf of space. It adds a layer of richness to the light, transforming a simple twinkle into a detailed biography of the object that emitted it. Returning to the upper atmosphere of our own blue dot, we witness a phenomenon that occurs on the very edge of space: noctilucent clouds. These are the night-shining clouds, the highest clouds in Earth's atmosphere. Visualize the sun having set long ago, the sky turning deep black. Yet, 50 miles up, delicate electric blue ripples are glowing against the darkness. These are crystals of water ice clinging to dust from meteors, illuminated by the sun from the other side of the world. They look like glowing waves on a dark ocean, or the bioluminescence of deep-sea creatures. Imagine floating at the mesosphere, the coldest place in the Earth system, watching these ethereal wisps form. They are ghosts of the twilight, visible only in the summer months of the high latitudes. They represent the boundary between the weather of Earth and the weather of space. There is a crisp, frozen beauty to them, a silence that matches their altitude. They are the last things to catch the light of the departing sun, holding on to the day while the world below sleeps in the night, a beautiful, frozen farewell to the light. Finally, as the night deepens, another faint glow appears, rising from the horizon in a pyramid shape. This is the zodiacal light, often called the false dawn. Visualize a soft, diffuse cone of pearly white light stretching up from where the sun set, following the path of the planets. This is not atmospheric, it is cosmic. You're seeing sunlight reflecting off billions of microscopic dust particles floating in the plane of the solar system. This dust is the debris of comets and asteroid collisions, the scaffolding of our planetary family. Imagine looking through a dusty window in a sunbeam. The zodiacal light is that sunbeam on the scale of the solar system. It is a ghostly, subtle illumination that connects us to the plane of the ecliptic, the racetrack of the planets. It is often so faint that only the sharpest eyes in the darkest places can see it, a shy companion to the Milky Way. Let this soft, triangular glow serve as a gentle nightlight, a reminder that the space between the planets is not empty, but filled with the diamond dust of creation, catching the sun's rays and scattering them back to us as a final, peaceful blessing of the night. From the soft, dusty glow of the zodiacal light, we turn our attention to the objects that create such dust in their final moments, specifically focusing on the precise mathematical boundary that dictates their fate, the Chandrasekhar limit. Visualize a white dwarf, the dense, cooling core of a dead star floating in the vacuum. It is a sphere of crushed matter, held up not by heat, but by a quantum mechanical force called electron degeneracy pressure. Imagine a crowded room where everyone is standing shoulder to shoulder, refusing to be squeezed any tighter. That is the interior of this star. But there is a limit to this resistance. If you were to pour just a little more matter onto this star, pushing its mass past a specific tipping point, about 1.4 times the mass of the Sun, the structure would fail. Visualize this limit as a cosmic line in the sand, a cliff edge of physics. As long as the star stays below this weight, it remains a stable, diamond-like jewel. But if it crosses the line, gravity instantly wins the tug of war. The electrons, unable to hold the weight, surrender, and the star collapses in on itself. It is a reminder that the universe operates on strict rules, hidden thresholds that, once crossed, alter the nature of reality instantly. Feel the tension of this limit, the delicate balance between the quantum push and the gravitational pull, holding these silent sentinels together in the dark. When a star in a binary system steals enough material from its neighbour to cross this forbidden line, The result is a Type Ia supernova. Visualize the thief star, the white dwarf, sipping gas from a companion red giant like a vampire. The gas spirals down, piling up on the surface, heavier and heavier, until that critical limit is breached. In a fraction of a second, the star does not just collapse, it detonates. Imagine a thermonuclear explosion that incinerates the entire star completely, leaving nothing behind. No black hole, no neutron star, just a cloud of expanding fire. Because this explosion always happens at the exact same mass limit, it always releases the exact same amount of brightness. Visualize a light bulb that is exactly 5 billion times brighter than the sun. To an observer across the universe, it appears as a sudden, brilliant new star that outshines its entire host galaxy before slowly fading over weeks. It is a moment of total transformation, where a solid object becomes a wave of pure energy and light. Feel the awe of this uniformity. Amidst the chaos of the cosmos, nature has created a perfectly standardized bomb, a beacon of consistent brilliance that can be seen across the breadth of the observable universe. Because these explosions are so consistent, astronomers use them as standard candles to measure the size of the cosmos. Imagine you're standing in a pitch-black field at night. You see a firefly. You don't know if it's a bright firefly far away or a dim one close by. But if you knew that every firefly emitted exactly the same amount of light, like a Type Ia supernova, you could tell exactly how far away it was just by how dim it appeared. Visualize these supernovae as mile markers scattered through the deep dark. By finding them in distant galaxies, we can map the depth of the universe. We are building a cosmic distance ladder, climbing rung by rung into the past. It was by watching these specific explosions that we discovered the universe is not just expanding, but accelerating. Visualize the light from these dying stars traveling for billions of years to reach us, carrying with it the secret of the universe's geometry. They are the lighthouses of the void, guiding our understanding of scale, turning the infinite black into a map with depth and dimension. As we look past these lighthouses, we notice that the light from the background does not always travel in a straight line. It bends and warps, a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. Visualize a massive cluster of galaxies sitting between you and a distant light source. The gravity of this cluster is so immense that it acts like a giant glass lens, bending the fabric of space itself. The light from the background object follows this curve, flowing around the cluster like water flowing around a rock in a stream. The result is a mirage in the sky. You might see the same distant galaxy appearing 4 times in a cross shape, or stretched out into a long luminous arc known as an Einstein ring. Imagine looking through the bottom of a wine glass at a candle. The flame is distorted, stretched, and multiplied. This is what gravity does to starlight. It turns the universe into a funhouse mirror. But this distortion is a gift. It acts as a natural telescope, magnifying objects that are too far away to be seen by human technology alone. Visualize space as a fluid medium, a transparent jelly that ripples and curves, allowing us to peek around corners and see the ancient history that lies hidden behind the massive foreground giants. If gravity can bend space to create a lens, the most extreme theories suggest it might also fold space to create a tunnel, the Einstein-Rosen bridge, or wormhole. Visualize the universe as a flat sheet of paper. To get from one side to the other, you have to travel the entire length of the page. But if you fold the paper in half, the 2 points touch. A wormhole is that touch, a tunnel that connects 2 distant points in space-time. Imagine a throat, a swirling vortex of gravity that opens a shortcut through the higher dimensions. You would not travel across the universe, you would travel through it. Visualize entering this tunnel, watching the stars streak into lines, and emerging instantly in a completely different galaxy, or perhaps a different time. While we have never seen one, the mathematics of relativity allows them to exist. They represent the ultimate dream of exploration, the possibility that the cage of distance can be broken. Feel the mind-bending nature of this topology. The idea that the inside of the universe is connected in secret ways, like a network of hidden passages beneath a city, waiting to be found by a traveller brave enough to step into the unknown. At the other end of such extreme geometry lies the theoretical opposite of a black hole, a white hole. While a black hole is a region of space you can enter but never leave, a white hole is a region you can leave but never enter. Visualize a point in space that is not a drain, but a geyser. It erupts with light and matter, spewing energy out into the universe, but nothing can push back against the flow to get inside. It is a cosmic exit-only sign. Imagine it as a film of a black hole played backward. Instead of swallowing a star, it spits one out. Some theories suggest that every black hole is connected to a white hole, and that the matter swallowed in one universe is birthed into another. Visualize this dazzling, repelling brightness, a fountain of creation that pushes everything away. It represents the reversal of entropy, a place where things come together to flow outward rather than falling apart. While they remain hypothetical, they complete the symmetry of the cosmos, balancing the eternal hunger of the dark with an eternal, giving light. Shifting our gaze from individual objects to the texture of the universe itself, we look at the cosmic microwave background and find a mystery. The cold spot. The afterglow of the Big Bang is remarkably uniform, a steady temperature across the entire sky, except for this one vast region in the southern hemisphere. Visualize a bruise on the sky, a giant patch that is significantly colder and emptier than everything around it. It is a supervoid, a desert in the ocean of galaxies spanning 1 billion light years. Imagine flying through this region. For eons you would pass almost no stars, no galaxies, just pure unadulterated emptiness. It is a hole in the Swiss cheese of the cosmos. Some speculate it could be the imprint of a parallel universe bumping against our own, a cosmic kiss that left a cold scar. Others think it is just a statistical fluke, a random shadow in the noise. Visualize this chilly expanse, a region where the fire of creation seems to have burned a little less brightly, leaving behind a deep, dark pool of silence that challenges our assumption that the universe is the same in every direction. Tracing the history of that background glow, we discover that the early universe rang like a bell, creating ripples known as baryon acoustic oscillations. In the first 380,000 years, the universe was a hot, dense soup of plasma. The pressure of light fought against the pull of gravity, creating sound waves that travelled through the soup at incredible speeds. Visualize dropping a stone into a pond and watching the ripples expand. When the universe cooled and became transparent, these ripples froze in place. They are still there today, imprinted on the distribution of galaxies. Imagine looking at a map of the universe and seeing that galaxies are slightly more likely to be found separated by a specific distance, about 500 million light-years, forming subtle rings of matter. These are the frozen echoes of the Big Bang's first screams. Visualize the galaxies as foam resting on the crests of these ancient sound waves. It connects the larger structures we see today to the sound physics of the infant universe. It means that the placement of the Milky Way is not random. We're riding the crest of a primordial wave, a fossil of sound that has turned into a scaffold of stars. Following the freezing of those waves, the universe plunged into an era of darkness, until the event known as the Cosmic Dawn, or the Epoch of Rhionization. Visualize the universe after the Big Bang cooled. It was filled with neutral hydrogen fog, a dark, opaque mist that smothered all light. For hundreds of millions of years, there were no stars, only the silent dark gas. Then gravity began to pull the gas together. Deep in the dark, the first stars ignited, massive hot blue giants, far larger than our sun. Visualize these first pinpricks of light turning on, one by one, like streetlights in a foggy city. They emitted intense ultraviolet light which acted like a blowtorch, burning away the hydrogen fog, stripping the electrons from the atoms, reionizing them, and making the universe transparent. Imagine bubbles of clear space expanding around each new star, growing and merging until the entire fog had lifted. This was the morning of the universe, the moment the lights truly came on. We are living in the clear day that followed. Feel the relief of that clearing, the transition from a suffocating dark to a universe filled with clarity and the potential for sight. Finally, we contemplate the architecture of this clarity, the shape of the universe. Is it curved like a ball? Is it saddle-shaped? Or is it flat? All our measurements suggest that the universe is spatially flat. This does not mean it is two-dimensional like a pancake. It means that parallel lines stay parallel forever, and triangles always add up to 180 degrees, no matter how large they are. Visualize shooting two laser beams into the darkness, perfectly parallel to each other. In a curved universe, they would eventually cross or spread apart. In our universe, they travel side by side for eternity. This flatness has a profound implication. It suggests the universe is infinite. If space is flat, it does not wrap around on itself like a globe. It simply goes on and on and on forever. Visualize an endless grid extending in all directions with no edge, no center, and no boundary. It creates a sense of agoraphobia and wonder combined. We are living on an infinite plane of existence, where there is always more space, more galaxies, and more mystery beyond the horizon. Let your mind try to grasp this infinity, not as a terrifying void, but as a promise that the journey, the story, and the dream of the cosmos truly never ends. From the contemplation of that infinite flat plane, we arrive at the final, most profound realization of our journey, the secret that binds every galaxy, every star, and every atom together into a single cohesive truth. You are the universe experiencing itself. Consider the atoms that make up your body right now. The carbon in your muscles, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, and the calcium in your bones. Not a single one of these was created here on Earth. Every atom inside you was forged billions of years ago in the crushing hearts of massive stars that have long since burned out and died. When those stars exploded, they scattered their enriched dust across the cosmos, drifting through the void for eons until gravity gathered them together to form our Sun, our Earth, and eventually you. You are not a stranger in this universe. You're its direct descendant. You're made of 13.8 billion-year-old matter that has come together for a brief flicker of time to gain consciousness. Visualize this connection deeply. When you look up at the night sky, you're not looking away from yourself. You're looking at your ancestors. The universe has spent billions of years evolving, cooling, and condensing, working through the chaos of fire and gravity, just so it could open a pair of eyes and marvel at its own beauty. You are the aperture through which the cosmos sees itself. You are the way the universe knows it exists. Without you, without a conscious observer, the stars would just be dumb fire, the nebulae just silent dust. But because you are here to witness it, to wonder about it, and to dream about it, the universe becomes a story. It becomes alive. Feel the weight of this truth settling into your bones. There is no separation between you and space. There is no outside. You're a wave on the surface of the cosmic ocean, a momentary expression of the whole. You are the stars, the galaxies, and the gravity, woven into a shape that can breathe, love, and sleep. You are the universe, finally awake, and now finally ready to rest. And now the journey is complete. The stars we have visited are slowly dimming, retreating back into the velvet folds of the night. Allow the visualization of the swirling galaxies, the burning suns, and the silent voids to gently dissolve, melting into a soft, warm darkness that wraps around you like a heavy blanket. The vast distances we travelled are shrinking, bringing you back closer and closer until you are safe within the sanctuary of your own room, within the comfort of your own bed. Feel the gravity of the earth, that faithful anchor, pulling you down into the mattress, holding you securely. Your body is heavy, sinking deeper into the soft support beneath you. The energy of the cosmos has settled into a quiet, rhythmic hum in your chest, a lullaby of existence that beats in time with your heart. There is nothing left to learn tonight. There are no more distances to cross, no more questions to answer. The universe has told you its secrets, and now it too is drifting into slumber. Imagine the lights of the cosmos turning off, one by one. The suns are sleeping. The planets are drifting in the quiet dark. The winds of space have stilled. Everything is slowing down. Your breathing is slow, deep, and tidal, like the gentle waves of a midnight ocean. Let go of the need to think. Let go of the need to be anything other than this peaceful, drifting consciousness. You are safe. You are home. You are part of the eternal whole, and you are deeply, profoundly tired. The darkness is not empty. It is a soft, welcoming embrace, a place of total restoration. Let yourself float away on this river of silence, drifting toward the horizon of dreams. The story is finished. The book is closed. The stars are watching over you. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.